Bill Bates for the return of furniture and an assault.
Order. All rise. Now it's case number 253 on the calendar in the matter of McKinney versus Bates.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. McKinney, you moved into the defendant's home, and at the time the two of you were involved in a relationship. That didn't work out. You allege all kinds of things and allege that he owes you money. Mr. Bates says not only doesn't he owe you any money, but you were supposed to pay your own way when you moved in with him. You did not do that. And in addition, when you left, you took some property of his, including a dog that you had given him. He has a counterclaim. So, when did you move in with Mr. Bates?
January of 2010.
What do you think Mr. Bates owes you for?
I purchased a table, a dining room table, and dishes and all of that stuff.
Not all of that stuff. This is a court, Ms. McKinney. You purchased a table. How much did you pay for the table, and from whom did you purchase it?
I paid $598.11, and I got it at Big Lots.
Mr. Bates.
Yes.
I'm interested in a dining room table for $600. Who bought it?
She technically bought it.
I don't want to know technically. That's where we are. We're in a court.
She purchased it.
And where is it now?
In my house.
Is she living in your house now?
No, she's not.
She gets her table back.
She owes me.
Just a second. She doesn't owe you anything until I say she owes you anything.
Okay.
Do we understand each other?
We do. Yes.
Perfect. What else did you purchase?
I purchased dishes and...
Dishes. Who did you purchase dishes from?
Target.
How much were they?
2 sets for $60 each, $120.
What do you need 2 sets of dishes? You keep kosher?
Because we have people come over and a set is only for 4 people.
Oh, you mean 2 small sets?
Yes.
2 sets of dishes usually. First to something else. Just wanted to know. What? It was a joke. Nobody thought it was funny. I'm allowed to amuse myself. I've been here 15 years. Okay, so 2 sets of dishes for $120. Are the dishes in your house?
Yes.
They go back to her with the table in 5 days.
Half of them are broken.
That's not my problem.
He stepped on them and broke them because I wanted them back.
When?
About a month before I moved out.
It's not true.
Just a second. A month before you moved out. Mm-hmm. Now, after he stepped on the dishes, did you make up?
Yes.
Then I'm not interested.
Okay.
What else?
A bunk bed for my son.
Bunk bed. She purchased a bunk bed?
For both of our kids.
I don't care. Did she purchase a bunk bed?
Yes, and gave it to me.
Get a bed for your own kid.
She gave it to me.
No, she didn't. Get a bed for your own kid.
I had one.
Good. She's getting the bunk bed back, along with the table.
I don't agree.
I don't care whether you agree or not. This is not a popularity contest.
Right.
This is a court.
It is.
Perfect. Anything else?
Snow pants that I paid for. They were $150.
Snow pants?
Yeah. They ended up getting left behind when I grabbed all my clothes.
Well, so what do you want from me? Go buy new snow pants. What's next?
Punitive damages for harassment.
Do you know that if I actually got punitive damages from people for harassing me, I would be a very rich person?
It was harassment and abuse, domestic violence.
You have 5 minutes. Less, 3.
We were going out for a night and we were discussing sexual acts and we were joking around and having a fun time. And after we went out, he got drunk and belligerent and started going crazy. And he threw my keys across the room. He pushed me down on the couch. He pinned me to the bed. He was yelling in my face. He was this close to my face, screaming and yelling at me. And I was just sitting there crying, asking him to stop. And he went to go light a cigarette in the room. And that's when I freaked out because I didn't know what he was going to do with that cigarette.
Why'd you leave?
He wouldn't let me get to my phone. He was holding me in the house.
No, he wasn't holding in the house.
He was holding me in the house.
He went to the other room to get a cigarette.
In the living room, and the bedroom is in the back of the house. There's no way to get out of the bedroom.
Keep going.
He had my phone.
Keep going.
He was in the front of the house.
Come on. Busy. Let's go.
He was holding me down to the bed. He went and then he went to go light the cigarette, and I freaked out because I didn't know what he was going to do with it. I thought he was going to burn me.
I don't care what you thought. What did you do?
I yelled and told him to stop, to not light the cigarette, and then he kept me in the room, kept my phone from me, wouldn't let me leave.
And then what did you do?
I said, please, can I just go to bed?
What did you do?
In the morning, I texted my mom.
So you went to sleep?
Yes. I waited for him to pass out and I went to sleep.
You went to sleep?
Yes. I had no way to get out of the house.
Just a second. You went to sleep. According to what you just said to me, you waited for him to pass out. That's what you just said. I waited for him to pass out and then I went to sleep.
By then it was 3 o'clock in the morning.
I don't care. If I were petrified of somebody, I would get out at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I had no way to. He threw my keys. I didn't have my car. My phone wasn't working because he had broken it.
Well, you're very fortunate that you're here. You should have left 3 o'clock in the morning, gone to a neighbor, knocked at a door, say I'm in danger, somebody's trying to kill me. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. Don't fetch about it later. You went to sleep. You had a fight, you went to sleep. All right. Next.
I have a witness that was there when I picked her up, when she came and picked me up that morning.
How did you get your witness to come and pick you up?
Because
I asked you a simple question. How did you get the witness to come and pick you up?
When we left the next morning to go get the kids, I sent my mom a text message because I got my phone to work. And I said, come pick me up in 45 minutes with a truck. Don't text back. I have to delete this. After I sent that to her, he took my phone, held it out the window, was driving over 100 miles an hour, acting like he was going to crash my car.
You want to know something? 3 o'clock in the morning, you should have left. Gotten in touch with somebody and said, I'm in danger, I'm leaving. Do you understand?
I couldn't.
Well, that's what you say. If I felt as if my life was in danger and the perpetrator of that alleged danger passed out, according to you used the words, he passed out, I would have gotten out of that house. Now, let's get to your answer. Answer, Ashley never paid me her share of rent or utilities, and all the furniture she wants back belongs to me. Not true, it belongs to her. And she took your dog. Now tell me about the dog. When did she take the dog?
This was just before Christmas. When she moved out, she took the dog.
Very good. You're getting smart.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm paying half for the table. I'm paying half for the rent. I was paying for everything. Yeah.
And later today.
Get your what back and forth to school?
My daughter.
How old is your daughter?
5.
You have this 5-year-old child with him?
Oh, no way. No.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ashley McKinney says former live-in boyfriend Bill Bates owes for the return of furniture and an assault. Bill is countersuing for utility bills, child care costs, and pet expenses.
Now, did you love the dog?
Yes, I loved it. My son loved it.
When for the first time did you go to the police and say she stole your dog?
I never went to the police.
We're now, sir, almost in October.
Yes, we are.
That's almost a year ago. If I woke up and found that somebody stole my dog, I would have been at the police the next day.
5 months ago.
Listen, you have a son?
I do.
You have a son?
Yes, I do.
You love him?
Yes, I do.
If you went into his bedroom and found him missing one day, would it take you 5 months to report that to the police? You would go right away.
Right away.
Right. Well, some people feel that way about their pets, sir. So I'm not interested in a counterclaim that's asking for a dog back after 5 months. Do we understand each other?
Well, it's not necessarily the dog. I mean, I spent for the vet bills on that dog and then supplies.
I don't care. It's irrelevant to me.
She took the dog away from me and my son.
It's irrelevant to me,
There's nothing I could...
If you wanted the dog back and it's your dog, then you should have... I'm speaking. Do you see my mouth moving? If you wanted the dog back, and I would have entertained your application to get the dog back, if she took the dog September 15th, and you said, she stole my dog, and I love that dog, and she gave it to me as a gift, I want it back, I would have heard you.
This is 5 months now, and she's asking for furniture. So, I mean, regardless of the dog or the furniture...
No, there's a difference between furniture and a dog.
Well, it's a gift.
In my mind, there's a difference.
Well,
just like there's a difference. Have you seen my mouth moving? Just like there's a difference between furniture and your son.
That's correct.
There's a different feeling. You don't love a table, and she doesn't love her snow pants.
Actually, I do love the table. It's an awesome table.
You do love the table?
Yeah, it's a beautiful table.
You love the table more or less than your son?
Oh, I love my son more.
Right. Okay. She gets back the table. You don't get back the dog. Now, let's talk about what she owes you for rent, because that's what she says. She never paid her share of her rent or utilities.
She actually moved in October of 2009.
Yes.
She stayed with me rent-free.
For how long?
For 7 months.
Just a minute. And was she supposed to pay you in October?
Yes.
Did she pay you?
No.
Did you evict her?
No.
She stayed with you in November?
Yes.
Did she pay you?
No.
Did you evict her?
No.
Did she stay with you in December?
Yes.
Did she pay you?
I see where you're going.
You got where I'm going? You got where I'm going? It's over. She gets her table and her bunk beds, the unbroken dishes, and if you want to, wrap the unbroken dishes in her snow pants if you have them within 5 days. It's finished.
But
over. Done.
You don't understand what I've done for this girl.
Listen. You
beat her up?
Listen to me. Just a second. You don't understand me, sir. I don't care.
I can see that.
I don't care. I'm not giving her the money that she wants. Now, let me see how much money she wants. $5,000 because she had a fight. She's not getting any money.
Right.
She's getting her furniture back. Because she spent her money on it, she's taking her furniture back. Because that's reasonable. But if you actually had a contract with her for rent and utilities,
I didn't
and
bring
she
the
lived with and she lived with you for 7 months and shared a bed with you, and as she discussed, you know, having cute little sex talk before this argument took place, I'm not interested, quite frankly, in rent.
Well, she was only eligible to buy those things for the place because I paid for the rent. If I didn't pay for the rent or the bills, she wouldn't have been able to buy the table or any of that. So technically, I'm paying half for the table, I'm paying half for the rent. I was paying for everything. Yeah, I know. More like
5
this.
days, that's all. Thank you.
Your Honor,
Parties are excused. You may step out.
we were planning on having a long future together,
I bought her a wedding ring, actually.
and it just kind of went downhill.
I'm stuck with a wedding ring, and she gets the furniture.
Be smart about who I choose to be with.
Well, I'm telling you what, next time she comes to my work for a booty call, I'm gonna tell her no way.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Bloom versus Colby, step forward.
Donald Bloom is suing his daughter's ex-boyfriend, 23-year-old Michael Colby, for an unpaid loan to buy a car. Michael claims the money was a gift.
Mr. Bloom, this young man used to be your daughter's boyfriend. Is your claim you loaned him money for a car? He paid you back some. There is a balance on the loan, and he and your daughter are no longer a couple. Mr. Colby says that you did, in fact, give him money to buy a car. It was just that. It was a gift. He did, in fact, give you back some money for some bizarre reason, but he said there was never an agreement to pay you back, right?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Colby?
Currently, right now, nothing.
Who are you living with?
My parents.
Why are you laughing at that? Is this your father?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
How old are you?
23.
Have you always lived with your parents?
For like the past probably 3 years.
Where did you live prior to that?
On my own.
For how long?
From when I was 17 to about 3 years ago. So,
And what kind of work were you doing from 17 to 20?
warehouse production.
And when was the last time you were employed?
About a year ago.
Month.
May.
May of 2009?
Yes, ma'am.
And you haven't worked since May of 2009?
Yeah.
When did Mr. Bloom turn over this money to you for a car? In what month?
September.
Of what year?
09.
And at that time you weren't working?
Nope.
No is the answer.
No, ma'am.
What did you need a car for?
Transportation, look for a
For what?
job, get my daughter back to school.
Get your
home.
what?
For what?
Get your what back and forth to school?
My daughter.
How old is your daughter?
5.
Great.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
When did you start giving him back this gift?
I don't remember when I started paying him back the money, but the reason why I paid him back that 5 was I felt guilty for it.
What made you stop feeling guilty?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Donald Bloom says his daughter's ex-boyfriend, Michael Colby, owes for a loan to buy a car.
You have this 5-year-old child with him?
No way, no. No.
Thank God.
And with whom does your daughter live?
Half with her mom and half with me.
Well, half with you. We mean half with your father. Because you don't pay rent, because you don't work.
When I was with her, I was paying rent. I was paying $500 to my parents.
Well, how could you pay $500?
Because I was
to your
working
parents?
up until the time I broke my hand.
When?
I broke my hand in May of 09.
Why?
So for the last year, from May of 09, well, certainly until September of 09, when he gave you money to buy a car, you weren't working.
No.
You say he was working.
He was working for
Where
Stanley
was he working?
Steamer,
Full-time or part-time?
full-time.
How long had he worked for Stanley Steamer at the time you gave him the car money?
I loaned him the money in September of 09, so he was working. I mean, my daughter met him about May. I don't know how long prior
May of
to
09.
that. Yes.
Now we together, sir? So at the time that you
Yes.
got this money from Mr. Bloom, you were working for Stanley Steamer.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what Mr. Bloom says, because he also said that you were giving him back $200 every couple of weeks.
Correct.
Towards this loan, which is why he gave you $2,500, and all that's left is $2,050.
As far as we talked, it was a gift. He never loaned me the money. It was always a gift.
Well, when did you start giving him back this gift?
I don't remember when I started paying him back the money, but the reason why I paid him back that 5 was I felt guilty for it. So
And when did you stop feeling guilty?
when I stopped paying him, probably a few months ago.
What made you stop feeling guilty?
Because in a way, I felt like I didn't owe him the money, and then...
Okay. So in a way, you felt as if you didn't owe him the money.
Yeah.
Tell me what kind of way you felt that you didn't owe him the money.
Because his daughter had stated she was going to help pay back the money, and it was, like I said, it was just a gift.
No, don't tell me it was just a gift. That's a conclusion. So you didn't actually feel as if you actually owed him the money, even though you had paid him back some of the money, because his daughter said she was going to help pay back some of the money, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about the conversation you had with your then girlfriend.
In the beginning, I didn't want to take the money. I was leery on it. She stated
to you,
yes to me, to take the money. She would help me pay it back.
Great. Take the money. I will help you pay the gift back, right? No. I'm trying to understand you, Mr. Colby. Take the money, and if you have a problem, I'll help you pay the gift back, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to pay something back, then that's a loan. Do you understand that, Mr. Colby?
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, I know I was making fun before when I said, you know, paying back this gift. But if you're going to pay something back, it's a loan.
That's true.
Why did you bring your father here?
Because he's been through it the whole time. With all the harassing and text messages. Don's the one that got him involved in it. When it was between me and him, he should have never got my dad involved on it.
What was between the two of you?
The money that he had given me.
And you think he would have given you any money, sir, if it wasn't for his daughter?
Probably.
I wouldn't give you a quarter. And the reason he got your father involved is because you're 23 years old. How old are you?
I'm 20.
Almost the same age as his foolish daughter. And he figured, listen, I need my money back. So since Mr. Colby doesn't live on his own, has no job, he's got a 5-year-old child, his parents cover for him, so they let him move into the house. His parents take care of probably part of the time his daughter, something that they didn't sign on for because you were a little bit stupid. So he figured he'd contact your father to see if maybe your father could be inspired to help pay off this debt. What state do you live in?
Phoenix, Arizona.
They give money for deposits on bottles in Phoenix?
I don't know.
I mean, that's a way of making money. Go out and collect bottles and turn in the money. Go in there, big machines and supermarkets where you cash in the bottles and they give you back $5. You have to do something, Mr. Colby.
It's kind of hard out there. There's no jobs, so I'm trying. Can't say I'm not trying.
There are jobs out there. They may not be jobs that you like.
Maybe, maybe not. There's really none. Not even McDonald's is hiring out there. Where do you expect us to work at?
What happened to the job you had?
If you're 23 years old, sir.
I ended up losing it, sir, because I broke my hand.
Listen to me.
Wasn't allowed to go back.
Don't talk to him.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to JudgeJudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
You have an option if you're a single person and your parents are foolish enough to continue to subsidize you at your age, but you have a 5-year-old child. Who supports that child?
They help me with it, but when I have a job, when I had a job,
you don't have a job now.
So.
And a 5-year-old child needs 3 meals a day and snacks.
That's fine, there's food in there.
And school and clothes and medical care and everything else. So my question to you, Mr. Colby, is who supports your daughter?
Her mom, and my parents help me with it.
Just a second. Her mom. Does her mom work?
Part-time job.
Then her mom doesn't support her child. Then probably the state of Arizona is supporting your child.
No. The
good citizens of the state of Arizona. So it seems to me you have to find some way to earn money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. You owe him $2,050. That's all. Step out. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge
boyfriend, Arthur Spain Jr., are suing Arthur's ex-girlfriend, 22-year-old restaurant manager Tequila Bailey, for vandalism to a Pontiac Grand Am and for the return of belongings. Tequila is countersuing for unpaid rent and harassment.
This is case number 7 on the calendar in the matter of Johnson Spain Jr. versus Bailey. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Ms. Johnson, you and Mr. Spain live together and have 2 children together.
Yes, ma'am.
And you are no longer a couple.
Yes, ma'am. No,
despite the fact that you both appear today as plaintiffs. My understanding of this rather complex case is that when you and Mr. Spain separated, Mr. Spain began a relationship with the defendant, Miss Bailey. And he, in fact, moved in with her. According to you, you tried to maintain a civil relationship with both of them, with Mr. Spain for the benefit of the children, and for Miss Bailey just because. But Miss Bailey was not happy with you for some reason, and it is your claim that she vandalized your car. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you are suing her as a co-plaintiff with Mr. Spain, who says that Miss Bailey kept some of his personal property when he moved out of the house because they are no longer together. Miss Bailey says that she did nothing to your car. It's actually you who harassed her, you and Mr. Spain. That it was Mr. Spain who damaged your car.
Correct.
And that you slashed her tires, you caused her to lose her job, and she wants from you, Mr. Spain, rent for the time that you were living with her. She has a counterclaim. All right, let's try to put some dates to these facts. Mr. Spain, when did you and Miss Johnson live together?
About 2000 and...
Maybe I'll ask Miss Johnson.
We moved in, it was about July 2003.
And how old are your children?
My son is 2 and my daughter is 4.
And when did Mr. Spain move out?
He moved out November 23rd, 2004.
Why?
Because of our differences. It wasn't working out.
When did you move in with Miss Bailey?
About the 26th.
Of what?
Of November.
You knew her from before?
Yes.
From where?
School.
How come you moved in with Miss Bailey?
Because she had asked me to move in with her.
No. I mean, did you rent a room from her, or were you living together as a couple?
Living together as a couple.
So that while you were with Miss Johnson, you were also with Miss Bailey?
No. She
I mean, it's a short 3 days, sir, you were in somebody else's house.
She had called me on the phone talking to her.
Yeah. When I came home from work, he was on the phone talking to her.
On the 23rd of November?
Yes, ma'am.
So then he moved out and he was living with Miss Bailey. How long did you stay with Miss Bailey, Mr. Spain?
About a month and a half.
Is that right, Miss Bailey?
He moved in November 23rd. He was arrested January the 4th, so that's the last time he lived with me when he got out of jail.
What were you arrested for?
Home invasion.
Burglary?
Nah.
What?
Well, no,
he kicked in the door.
Kicked in her door.
Yeah, he kicked in my door.
You kicked in her door?
Where his kids lay their heads at night.
Shh. What'd you kick in her door for?
Just jealous, and I was really upset what was going on when I was living with her.
Well, so you were annoyed with Miss Bailey, so you kicked in Miss Johnson's door?
Yes.
It's very logical. Getting too old for this job. All right, Miss Johnson, tell me about the vandalism of your car. When did that happen?
December the 16th.
And you were still living with Miss Bailey, is that right, Mr. Spain?
Yes.
In between the time that they were together, it's been harassing phone calls. I mean, he would call, he would get me upset, he would get me upset, just arguing over our relationship, whatever. Then she would call, and she would play on the phone, repeatedly call, left threatening messages on my voicemail, and I just got, I mean, of course I've defended myself in the argument too, but I guess she got real upset to the point where she wants to come over to my house, and she'd scratch the car.
Well, I want to know, were you home when she scratched the car?
Yeah, I was home, but I was asleep. It happened overnight.
So you didn't see her scratch the car?
No, I didn't see her scratch the car, but I do have a witness with me.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to hear that witness. Tell me your name, please.
Monica Dykes.
Dykes, did you see on December 16th somebody vandalized Miss Johnson's car?
No, I wasn't with her at the time, but I was at her house. I was spending the night at her house, and she was supposed to go get me something to eat. And
Who was?
Miss Bailey. She didn't come back with my food, and I asked her why, and she said because she came in the house with a box cutter, and she said that she had scratched Miss Johnson's car.
Well, how do you know Miss Bailey?
They were going together. This is my brother.
When she came home, she just took out the box cutter and told you? What did she do?
No, she had the box cutter in her hand.
Walked in the door with the box cutter in her hand?
It was in her pocket, and she took it out.
Well, tell me about that. I'm curious about that whole moment when she walked into the house with the box cutter in her pocket.
When she walked into the house, I was like, well, what happened to the Burger King that you're supposed to bring back? She said, well, Burger King was closed, and I just came back from around Mrs. Johnson's house, and I scratched the car up, and I hope she come around here with some...
She's lying.
So what did you say to her?
Nothing. I didn't say anything after that.
She's lying.
You didn't say, why would you do that?
Well, I asked her why. She said, because she's just been harassing me and all this other stuff.
Did she tell you what she'd been doing to harass you?
She said that Miss Johnson has been calling her house numerous of times.
So they were speed dialing each other. Thank you. All right, Miss Bailey, now I'll hear from you.
Thank you so much. First of all, he moved in my home November 23rd of 2004. He moved out because he went to jail for kicking in her door. I was pregnant at the time with his kid. So when he got out of jail, I no longer want him in my home anymore. So while the process he's been in jail, me and Christina Stovall right here took all of his belongings.
I'm not at his claim yet, Miss Bailey.
Oh, okay. Well, where are we at?
I'm keying her car.
Oh, keying her car, and he keyed her car, and this is the night that he got arrested. He came over to my house bragging about keying her car in as well as kicking her door in. Why would I key her car? He kicked the key. I mean, he keyed the car in and kicked the door, and he know he did.
I was there.
If he's gonna kick her door in, he's gonna kick her car. Whatever, you lying.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If somebody moves in with you in December and you get pregnant between December and January 4th, you're not too swift.
And later today.
Where is the car now?
The car is in front of my house now.
You have not sought to have the car returned to you, have you?
No.
Smart lady.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Kimberly Johnson and Arthur Spain Jr. claim Arthur's ex-girlfriend, Tequila Bailey, keyed Kimberly's Pontiac Grand Am. Arthur also says Tequila won't return his belongings.
Do you have a police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see. Step up. Tell me your name.
Christina Stovall.
You said that you were present when Mr. Spain acknowledged that he vandalized Miss Johnson's car?
Yes.
When was that?
January 4th.
Tell me about what he said.
Me and Tequila and her two sisters were in the living room. He came in through the door. He was sweating, walking around. You could tell he had did something. This is what he said. He said, I keyed in her car, I kicked in her door, and the police is coming. So Tequila said, let's go upstairs and talk about it.
Yeah, but the police report...
He did it at
He did it what?
He did it at 2 different times. When he keyed in her car a couple days before he kicked in her door. But he came in bragging about both of it.
Yeah.
No. No.
Yeah. He keyed her car. I don't know what he keyed the car in, but the night he got arrested...
Listen to me very carefully. Where did you spend Christmas?
At my house.
Did you see Miss Bailey?
I see her every day, all the time.
And what about Mr. Spain? Did you see him?
Yeah, I see him.
Shut up!
I used to go to school with him. I used to go to the candy store. He knows who I am.
Okay. So you know them both and you saw them between December 16th and January 4th. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what you're telling me is on January 4th, he acknowledged keying her car.
Because he came in all nervous.
All right. But the police report is from December 16th. Why in the world would he come in all nervous and hyper and confess to something that he had done on December 16th?
He already confessed to me a long time ago about it.
Because he was scared.
He was bragging.
Sit down.
Okay.
Good. Very good. No, I believe that he kicked in her door, but on December 16th, I believe her when she says that you went out to get her some Burger King and you came back and you keyed her car.
Nah.
Yeah, no. Nah. Okay, now, what stuff do you claim that you left at Miss Bailey's home?
Radio, TVs, CDs, DVDs, weights.
Where's all his stuff?
We took 2 trips to her mom and his mom's house, and he knows and she knows. As a matter of fact, I had Matt come get the guns that was in my house. They don't have any permits for.
What kind of guns?
Sawed-offs.
BB guns.
Sawed-offs.
Who is this gentleman?
That's my friend.
What does he have to do with this case?
His weights are in her house.
He helped haul
her
belongings over to her house.
And we hauled it right back. And I don't know what your father did with him, but we hauled it right back.
A few baskets over to his house. This is when he was locked up.
TV returned?
No. And she brought me my shoes, and she brought my shoes, a box full of my shoes, and my remote control was in the box.
What kind of television did he bring to your house? Look at me directly. Don't look at the floor.
I'm looking at you. I don't know exactly what kind of television it was. It was little black box television.
Where is it?
At his mom's house. Me and her took 2 trips to Hallville, Indiana, to give them their stuff. But he got locked up from my house. I got a letter in my mail from my landlord saying that if they find him or anything of his in my house again, I will be in court for eviction because he was not on my lease. So I quickly took all his stuff to his mother's house. All his stuff. He knows it.
She is lying.
Now, Miss Bailey, what I want you to do is I want you to tell me about your counterclaim. You think that Mr. Spain should pay you for rent?
Yes.
What kind of contract did you have with him for your
We didn't
rent?
have anything written down, signed, because when you're supposed to be having a relationship, you don't do that. But we have verbal. You're going to pay half on everything. You're not going to stay in my house and lay up and eat, sleep, and not pay nothing on anything.
Miss Bailey.
Yes, ma'am.
We live in a civilized society. So I want you to leave your gutter language outside.
I can do that. That's fine.
And you're going to wait until I'm finished speaking before you open your mouth.
Okay.
You're going to leave your gutter language outside, and you're going to remember where you are. We understand each other?
We do.
Perfect.
Kimberly Johnson and Arthur Spain Jr. claim Arthur's ex-girlfriend, Tequila Bailey, keyed Kimberly's Pontiac Grand Am. Arthur also says Tequila won't return his belongings.
I believe that after he moved out, you wanted money, but I don't believe you had an agreement with him to pay you half of everything.
Somebody can't stay with me.
Listen to me. Next.
First of all, my tires were slashed. I couldn't get to work. I had to call in to get my car fixed. Second of all, they're playing my phone. He's coming to my job, my new job and my old job, harassing on me on my job.
Well, just a second. What did he say when he came to your job?
I broke up with him. He wants to be with me. He loves me. He wants to be a family. Let's make it work. I don't want to be with you. I want to be a family. Go raise your 2 kids with Kimberly.
Just a second. I don't understand you.
What do you mean?
You're talking too fast.
I talk fast all the time. I know. He wants to be with me.
So he came to you telling you that he wanted to be with you, he wanted to be a family.
Making a scene. Yeah, making a scene at work. He wanted to be with me.
And that's why you got fired.
That, and I had to call in because I was pregnant with his child, and he was in jail. I couldn't work. I was sick.
I mean, you think that he's responsible for you?
Yeah, he helped me make the baby. Yeah.
What?
He helped make the baby. Yeah, he's responsible.
That's not a lawsuit.
It is mine.
It's not one that I'm going to hear.
That's fine, Miss Judge Judy.
It's not one that I'm going to hear. How many children do you have?
I have one.
Okay. So you know how babies are made, right?
I do.
If you don't want to have the baby, then what you do is you take precautions so that you don't have a baby. If somebody moves in with you in December and you get pregnant between December and January 4th, you're not too swift.
Right.
Can I see pictures of your car?
Yes. Yeah, Your Honor, she scratched the whole driver's side, and she also...
Can I just see the pictures of the car?
My boyfriend.
Okay, did you have these scratches taken care of?
No, ma'am.
Do you have an estimate on how much it's going to cost?
Yes,
to have
ma'am, I do.
Scratches taken care of? That's a reasonable estimate. Listen, there is no question in my mind that the two of you women behaved badly towards each other, right?
Right.
I think Mr. Spain behaved badly, too. Listen, Miss Bailey, don't get in between people. It's always a very bad idea. If someone has a fight with his wife, woman, girlfriend, whatever it is, and if you take him in the day that he had a fight, and then if you make a baby with him, that makes you a smart woman who's not acting too smart, or a stupid woman who's not acting too smart. I don't know which one you are.
I was stupid.
But whoever you are, you owe her $600 to have a car painted. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $600. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I ain't even mad, though. That's the whole thing. I ain't even mad. I'm cool. I'm cool.
She's a liar. She's crazy. She needs some mental health.
I don't need anything from any one of them. And I'm still making. I'm still strong, sitting on my own 2 feet.
That's the devil right there.
Thing is, I got fists. Come on, bring it. Bring it, because I'm ready. Straight up, I'm ready.
The girl's crazy. And you seen it in there. She crazy.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Ford versus Tarrant. Step forward, please.
Barber Glenn Ford is suing his former lover, office technician Elizabeth Tarrant, for the balance on a 1988 Toyota Celica he bought for her daughter.
Mr. Ford, it is your claim that Miss Tarrant, with whom you were briefly involved, owes you money for a car that you purchased for her daughter and for impound fees later when the car was impounded because her daughter didn't have a driver's license. Ms. Tarrant indicates that both of those things were gifts and you did not seek any money until after she decided she no longer wanted to be involved in a committed relationship with you. Is that what this case is about?
Yes.
Fine. Where is the car now?
The car is in front of my house now.
You have not sought to have the car returned to you, have you?
No.
Smart lady. Mr. Ford, can you explain to me why this is a relatively new purchase? According to your complaint, the car was purchased for her daughter sometime in February, correct?
In March.
So it was driven by her for a relatively short period of time. Why don't you just sell it?
The reason why I don't want to sell it, because I'm really not in this business of selling car. I had purchased the car for Elizabeth because she needed a car for her daughter. And it was an understanding, a mutual understanding between us two, and a contract that we had, which she didn't sign.
Well, then I'm not interested in it, sir. My question to you is a very practical one. This is a relationship that clearly was not going anywhere. The only nexus tie that you had to each other was this car. You got the car back, and I understand that you're not in the car business, but I don't know what your losses are.
Well, the car was impound, and she had agreed to pay me for the impound fees. I had to get the car out of impound, and the only way that I was able to get the car out of impound was that her daughter had to have a driver's license, so they could release the car to me from out of impound. I took her daughter to get a driver's license, and she had a driver's license, and I went to pick up the car from the impound. I incurred losses there. Now, she agreed that she would pay for these losses that I had incurred.
You mean for the impound fees?
For the impound, yes.
That's not unreasonable. What do you do for a living, Mr. Ford?
I'm a barber.
Is it your own business?
Yes, it is.
Then you're a businessman, Mr. Ford, and you appear to be an intelligent person. Right? You may not know a lot about cars. I don't know a lot about cars either. But I know that if I had a piece of property in my possession, in this case a car, and I had the title to it, which you do at this point, because she signed it over to you, before I would bring her to court, I would put an ad in the paper, a sign in the window, and I would say, I'm going to sell this car and see what I get for it. And then you won't be out any money, unless you just wanted to bust her chops. So, Mr. Ford, before you come to court, go sell the car and see if you come up with a shortfall on the money you laid out. Do we understand each other?
Yes, Your Honor.
Perfect. Goodbye.
Parties are excused.
Jennifer Sanchez is suing her ex-boyfriend, 21-year-old waiter Jared Butler, for totaling her car.
Order. All rise.
Your Honor, this is case number 439 on the calendar in the matter of Sanchez versus Butler. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Sanchez, according to your complaint, you and the defendant were in a relationship and for a period of time lived together. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
You claim that the defendant, without your permission, took your car and wrecked it. You had no insurance, according to you. The car was totaled, and you want him to pay you $5,000.
Right.
The defendant says he had your permission, and he has a whole bunch of excuses. One of his excuses is you should have had insurance on the car, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Tell me under what circumstances he had your car.
Well, what had happened was early in the morning, I had to be at work at 7:30, and he had misplaced his car keys. So he decided that he would just take my car to go and pick up his spare key that was at his mother's house. And while I was getting ready for work, he just grabbed my keys and walked out the door, and right before he closed the door, he just yelled that he was going to take my car before I could react or anything.
Well, if you had time to react, he had taken your car before and had driven your car before, is that right?
Right.
You wouldn't have said no.
I would have taken him.
Why?
Because I was nearly ready and I had to be to work and...
But you would have had to have taken him and then come back, right? So there would have been no point in you taking him. Ms. Sanchez, I want you to answer my questions honestly. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
There would have been no point in you saying, just a minute, I'll drive you to your mother's house and then bring you back in order for you to pick up your car, right?
Right.
He had driven your car before. There wouldn't have been a problem.
Right.
So you grabbed her car keys.
No, Your Honor. She gave me permission to use her car keys, Your Honor.
I'll decide whether she gave you permission.
Okay.
You grabbed her car keys and you got into the car.
Yes.
And what happened?
I headed towards my mother's house to get my spare key from my vehicle. On the way back, I got in a car accident.
You got into a car accident that was your fault.
It's proclaimed as my fault, yes.
First of all, you have to speak slowly. You have to speak so I can hear you. You got into a car accident that was your fault.
Yes.
How?
It was said that I ran a red light, and I got in a car accident.
No, your voice trails off at the end, sir. I heard ran a red light, and then?
I got in a car accident.
You hit another car?
Yes.
Did you run a red light?
The light was yellow.
You ran a red light. Were you given a citation?
No.
You claim, sir, that your driving license has been suspended.
Restricted.
Or restricted. Why was your driver's license restricted?
Because I was driving a vehicle that was uninsured.
How long had you lived together?
This time, 1 month.
Now, had you ever had a discussion with her about insurance?
About 9 months before this, and her and I broke up and we got back together. California law assumed she had insurance.
But you never questioned her?
No.
Now, you have insurance on your car.
Yes.
Did you report this accident to your insurance company?
Yes, I did. And they said they wouldn't cover me to drive someone else's vehicle. My insurance only covers me to drive my vehicle.
Really?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that the way it happens here?
Oh, no, I've never had an accident.
It was always my understanding that if you had insurance, that your insurance covers you even if you're driving somebody else's car.
That's what we had thought. And her father and myself, we had called my insurance company, and we've been fighting them. And they said that they wouldn't cover me to drive her vehicle because it was uninsured, and they're not going to pay for it. I was willing to pay the deductible to get it fixed, but they wouldn't cover it.
Could your car have been fixed?
No. It was written off as a total loss by more than one place.
What year car was it?
It was a 96.
What's your insurance carrier's name? Let me see. Is this the name of your broker?
Yes.
Good morning. This is Judge Judy Scheindlin. To whom am I speaking? I'm in the middle of trying a case, and I'd like some information from you. Okay, I have one of your insured before me. His name is Jared Butler. Are you familiar with that person? Okay. My question is this on his policy. Does that policy cover him if he is driving someone else's car? Liability only. It won't cover collision. I see. Well, that's really what I want to know, because that's exactly what happened. Okay. Very good. You've been a tremendous help to me. Thank you. Bye-bye. Can I see the bills for your car, proof of loss?
It's right here with the letter we sent him.
Mr. Butler, I give you 30 seconds or less to explain to me why you should not be responsible for this.
I just feel I shouldn't be responsible for her negligence. She drove her car without insurance. California state law requires her to be insured. She shouldn't allow somebody to use her car, or be driving to work every day, driving her nephews, allowing us to drive to Big Bear in a car that's uninsured.
So you believe
I don't think I should be penalized for her negligence.
So you believe that she is the proximate cause of her car being totaled because
Absolutely
she
not.
should have had insurance?
It was my fault that I was in a car accident. It's my responsibility for the accident. It's her responsibility for the insurance.
Right.
So I'm not blaming her for the accident. I'm taking responsibility for the accident.
How are you taking responsibility for the accident?
Well, prior to all this, her father and I had been trying to settle on an agreement, and I told him I would pay the $1,000 deductible for him, and I could work out some payment plan, and he didn't want that. And because he wanted to go to court and see whose fault it was, really.
It's your fault. You ran a red light. Wasn't even as if you were the innocent in this car accident. You were the guilty person in this car accident. What about the car that you hit?
They had sent her father some notice saying that they are $5,700 they want for the car to be fixed.
Yes.
That's what happened as far as that goes.
They actually sent me the notice. They're coming after me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jennifer Sanchez says ex-boyfriend Jared Butler owes her for totaling her car. Jared says he had permission to drive the vehicle.
Now, just for my own information, why didn't you have insurance?
I actually did have insurance, but I wasn't aware of it. My father had let me believe that I had been canceled from their policy because he wanted me to pay the insurance bill, and I couldn't afford it at the time.
Yes. So did you have insurance or not?
Yes, I did, and I didn't find that out until I'd purchased this new car to go and put it on the policy.
So you have insurance? You mean if I didn't ask that question, you weren't going to tell me?
No, I would have said.
When were you going to tell me?
When he was done relaying his story.
So what was your out-of-pocket expense?
My out-of-pocket expense has been nothing so far except for I had to buy the new car, which was $9,000.
Right, but your insurance is going to... You do have insurance.
Right.
What's the deductible on the insurance?
I don't know that.
Well, if you don't know that, Miss Sanchez, how do you expect me to make a judgment? I have to compensate you because clearly this accident was his fault.
Right.
And he should be prepared to cover you for any of your out-of-pocket expense. And if you have a car that has a $500 deductible or a $1,000 deductible, that he pays. You're suing him for $5,000. How am I supposed to know what your deductible is on this insurance that your father carried for you but didn't tell you about? I'm sure he told you about it before you walked into court.
Well, I didn't find that out until I went to get my new car insured under his policy.
Who is this person here with you?
This is my mom.
Do you know?
I do now.
Perfect. Stand up, please. Ms. Sanchez.
Yes.
Would you please tell me what the deductible is on this insurance that your husband wisely carried for his daughter?
I actually don't have that information as well. Jennifer and myself were not aware until she purchased the new vehicle that my husband, in fact, did continue paying her insurance bill for her. Because she's a full-time student, we would never consider allowing her to drive a vehicle without insurance.
Very smart. But how am I supposed to know what kind of judgment to render in her favor? What were her losses?
Well, because of my husband's feeling, I believe, in talking directly to me was that because Jared did, in fact, not have permission to drive the car on that day.
Yes, he did. I'm telling you he did.
Okay, indirectly, I'll agree.
I'm telling you he did.
All righty. Indirectly, I feel, in my opinion, that he did not, because she did not have a chance to respond.
I'm telling you that that didn't happen. Because if he had taken the car without her permission, she gets on the phone, she calls the police and said, somebody just took my car without my permission. He's driven the car before. He drove the car before when she had no knowledge about this other insurance policy. She knew that she didn't have insurance. She let him drive the car. She drove the car herself.
That's true.
Okay.
Jared has driven the car one time before to Big Bear, as he stated.
Just a second.
But never without her.
Trust me, he's driven the car before. Maybe when they went out on a date, he drove. Does that sound right to you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Went out to dinner or to a movie, he
Never
drove.
taking it upon himself to get in the car and take off.
Listen to me. Don't be naive. Don't be naive. I left my keys. I can't find my keys. I'm running off to my mom's to pick up a set of keys. I'll be back in 2 minutes before you have to leave for work. And whether she handed him the keys or he went in her bag and took the keys, that's what happened. I don't care what your husband's feelings were. Your husband feels as if he should pay for the whole car and not put it through his insurance?
Actually, it's not the entire amount of value of the car. It's what we could get through small claims court. The value of the car exceeds the $5,000.
How much did your insurance company pay you for the car?
We did not report it to the insurance company because she was not aware, nor was I, that she actually was covered. My husband even told me that she did not have insurance.
When were you made aware of it?
When she purchased her new vehicle.
When was that?
Almost 5 months after this accident occurred.
Approximately 4 weeks ago.
Something wrong with this picture over here. Your husband knows that he has insurance for some bizarre reason, which is maybe why he's not here. And any reasonable person would say, I'm going to put in my claim right away, because how else am I going to get paid for this car?
The reason that I can give you for that is because from the beginning, there was not a problem as far as Jared agreeing to pay for the damages that he had himself incurred on Jennifer's vehicle. That was never a problem, but as months and months went by, he then said that he was only partially responsible. Now he's saying he's not responsible at all.
Oh, he is responsible.
Of course, we know that.
He is responsible. The only question is how much. I mean, I can understand your husband saying, listen, if I report this to my insurance company, my premiums are going to go up, and they're going to go up and stay up, which is a problem. Now, that's a reason. That's a reason saying, why should I be penalized when he caused the accident? And by my insurance going up, all because of his accident, I'm not going to report it to my insurance company and let him take care of it. That's a reason. that I might buy.
Right, and that's exactly correct.
Well, then why don't you just say that to me instead of this hocus pocus? My husband didn't tell me. My husband didn't tell me. What?
I don't understand, Judge. I don't understand.
I still didn't get a straight answer from you, Miss Sanchez. Were you supposed to have had insurance on this car?
As far
Look
as
at
I
me.
knew.
Were you supposed to have insured the car yourself? Just answer my question.
Yes.
Yes. Did you tell your father you had insured the car yourself?
No.
When were you supposed to have put insurance on this car yourself?
I was supposed to have done it a while back, but I could
Why
not
didn't you?
I couldn't afford to.
Did you tell your father you couldn't afford to?
Yes, he knew I couldn't.
No, don't tell me what you knew. Did you have a discussion with him and say to him, I cannot afford to maintain insurance on this car?
Yes.
When?
It was probably about a year before this accident happened.
Did your father say you have to maintain insurance on the car?
Yes, he did.
So why didn't you?
Because I couldn't afford to.
Then you don't drive. What happens if you have an accident? Happens all the time. You have no insurance to cover your car. And what about the people that you injure?
I would have been responsible.
And how are you going to pay for that if you couldn't even pay for the insurance?
Well, I would have had to get a job.
I thought you have a job.
I had a job, and I lost it.
You don't drive a car without insurance. Mrs. Sanchez.
Yes.
I quite frankly can understand why your husband would not want to cover this part of the damage.
Correct.
Your husband, however, since the car is insured, is probably going to have to cover the people who he hit, unless you want to be out that money too. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I understand the legalities of that, but morally, I think that's a little...
He's going to have to be responsible because he's not going to do it.
We've clearly found that to be the
Right.
case.
But I believe that your daughter is partially responsible for what happened here. I believe that he is more responsible for what happened, but your daughter actually drove a car that she knew was not insured. And she did allow him to drive that car, knowing that that car was not insured. When did you purchase this car?
My father purchased it for me about a year before. I had only had it a year.
You have the purchase price of the car?
I don't.
Let me see all your papers, please. Well, the car is pretty well totaled, that's for sure. Nobody was hurt in this car accident? That's really lucky.
If you read the police report, Jared states in that the reason he may have ran the red light was because heading westbound, the sun was in his eyes.
I don't care why he ran a red light. He ran a red light. I know he ran a red light. He knows he ran a red light. It's in a big hurry.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Who did her father buy the car from?
He actually purchased it from his sister, which would be Jennifer's aunt.
How much did he pay for the car?
He said $6,800.
Yeah, that's true. That's correct.
So he paid her $6,800?
To his sister, yes.
And the car had 4,300 miles on it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and the car needed a paint job?
Yes.
So say the car was worth $4,200. And I believe that you had some responsibility with regard to this for driving a vehicle that was uninsured, at least uninsured according to you. I do not believe, Mrs. Sanchez, that your husband has to absorb his problem. And it was his problem. Should she have to absorb his problem? Partially, but certainly not your husband. You and your husband would have to absorb his problem by reporting this to your insurance company, which means your rates clearly would go up. The car was driven by someone other than a member of your family, was clearly involved in an accident that was totally the fault of the defendant.
Mm-hmm.
And your insurance premiums would probably go up permanently, or at least for the next 5 years. So I believe that your daughter bears 25% of the responsibility, somewhere around that, and I'm awarding you $3,200. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Old homemaker Kathleen Marsh is suing her former brother-in-law, 38-year-old sales associate Jeffrey Vesna, for dental bills and furniture for his 2 daughters. Kathleen says she took custody after their mother was killed in a car accident.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 492 on the calendar in the matter of Marsh versus Bisna. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Tell me your name.
Kim?
Is this your dad?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like you to do something for me. Bird, would you take Kim outside while I try this case, please?
Come.
Miss Marsh, the defendant had been married to your sister.
Correct.
And they were divorced for a long time. Your sister had custody of her two daughters, your two daughters, sir. And I gather you hadn't had much of a relationship with the two girls over the years. Is that right?
That's right.
Your sister had remarried.
Correct.
But tragically, she and her husband were killed in an automobile accident, and you took custody of your two nieces.
Yes, I did.
When was your sister killed?
June 19th of 2000.
Were they in a collision with another car?
No, the stepfather was driving Tracy. He was driving, and he had a seizure, and...
Okay. I gather, Mr. Vizina?
Yes, ma'am.
That because you hadn't had a serious relationship with your girls, you had no problem with the two girls going to live with their aunt. Is that right?
No, Your Honor. I did make that decision because I hadn't been the best father, and they don't know their father very well. And a lot of the reason I made that decision, it would not be fair to them considering the circumstances. They just lost their mother and their stepfather, that they should go with a stranger. And I thought it'd be in their best interest to stay with their aunt, where they're more comfortable. That way I can reestablish a relationship in that direction.
Do you have other children, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
How many other children?
I've got one boy that was just born in October.
That's your only other child?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What your lawsuit seeks, Miss Marsh, is money. You say that you had to buy bedroom furniture for the children.
Yes.
And you want him to pay for the bedroom furniture that you purchased, and also braces for both girls.
Yes, at least help with these expenses.
He has a defense with regard to the furniture because he says he wasn't consulted. With regard to the braces, I'm going to get to that in a minute. Did your sister have a home?
She lived with her mother-in-law.
And I assume that the girls had furniture there.
They had a waterbed frame that was about 30 years old with a mattress thrown in. That's what they had for bedroom furniture.
I assume you went to court with regard to the issue of custody, and you were awarded legal custody of the girls?
Yes, I was awarded legal custody. I didn't have to go to court. He defaulted.
But you went to court. You have a court order giving you custody.
Oh, yes, yes.
Was there a support order entered as well for the two girls?
Yes, there is.
Is he currently paying that support order?
No.
What is the order?
$1,026 a month.
And when was that support order made?
December 1st is when it was to be start being paid.
Have you paid that money?
Your Honor, I was never informed of any court order, and as far as the legal custody goes, nothing has ever gone to court. Her lawyer had sent me a notice that he had dropped the case.
Are you telling me, sir, that you never received notification that you were to pay $1,026 a month for the support of your children?
No, Your Honor, not at all.
Well, how much money have you voluntarily paid for the support of your children since December?
As far as sending her monetary amounts of money, I've sent none at this moment. I had my youngest daughter over with me for the summer. She was going to live with me, and she decided to go back. I had provided her with the school clothes and things that she needed to go back to school.
Okay.
I've been in contact with them, but...
But that's since September, sir. We're talking about 7 months. Ms. Marsh has taken over financial responsibility for the girls. That's not her financial responsibility. That's yours.
Yeah, I agree.
So why haven't you sent her any money?
I really have no excuse for it. The Social Security benefits, they are receiving the death benefits.
Do the children receive death benefits through Social Security?
Yes, I do.
In what amount?
$716 total.
For both girls?
For both girls.
A month?
A month.
Any other benefits that the children receive?
No. The life insurance that their mom has left them, they will receive when they're 18.
In what amount?
$10,000 apiece. And then the auto insurance monies, they will receive at the age of 25, 30, and 35.
And how much was that?
I don't know what it's going to be after it's accumulated interest through the annuities, but it was $50,000 less 25% for the attorneys.
For each of the children?
Total.
Okay. Mr. Vizina, $716 a month does not take care of 2 girls. Now, Ms. Marsh has to understand that she cannot go out and obligate you to purchase things for the girls by buying them and then telling you about the expenses. But I have a problem, and I want you to tell me, with regard to what I consider necessaries for the children, which are orthodontic braces, why you feel as if you are not responsible for that.
Right now, my youngest daughter, she doesn't have all her permanent teeth in yet.
She's 13 years old.
She's 13. When she was with us last September or August, I can't remember exactly which month, but she had already lost a tooth there. She doesn't have all her permanent teeth in, and want to get them mature enough to get all the permanent teeth in before spend money on the braces in order to. So
Where did you go to dental school? Where did you go to dental school?
I never did. It just wouldn't make any sense, Your Honor, if she's losing teeth when she's got braces on there if all her permanent teeth aren't in yet.
Everybody puts braces on before they're 13. My father was a dentist.
That's just my guess, Your Honor.
You guessed wrong. Can I see the report from the dentist?
Yes.
Thank you. Miss Marsh, do you have other children?
Yes, I have 2 girls.
About
2
the same
teenage
age?
girls. I've got one 19 and one 16.
Oh. They get along? Sometimes.
Yeah.
This is just for Kim.
Right. I can't afford to take both of them. I just can't afford it.
Do you have a report with regard to the need for the other child to have braces?
No.
Do you have the court order for $1,026 a month?
Yes, I do.
May I see it, please? Mr. Vizina, who do you work for?
News company in Fort Collins, Colorado.
How long have you worked there?
About 4 months.
What kind of work do you do?
Sales and distribution.
Are you the only source of income in your household?
Right now, my fiance has part-time work.
So you are the only source of income in your household?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any other support that comes into your household from the state?
No, Your Honor.
How much do you earn?
A little under $700 every 2 weeks.
Before you worked for a news company, sir, where did you work?
I was a nightclub disc jockey. It's kind of floating from nightclub to nightclub doing private parties.
You still do that part-time?
Just part-time, just a couple hours
Part-time.
a night, fill-in.
So you paid for that work in cash?
Not very much, but yes.
You have health insurance pursuant to your employment agreement?
I do. I was looking into putting a family. My 2 daughters on the health insurance.
Mhm.
It would have cost me probably over half of my monthly wages to put a family. The braces, as an example, she needed to call me on that and tell me what the monthly payments were. I don't have any problem helping pay for the braces. I just need to know what I'm supposed to pay. I'll be blindsided by it.
Mr. Vizina, it is clear to me, sir, that for a very long time you were perfectly comfortable that your former wife and her husband were taking care of these 2 girls and that you had no responsibility. You were not in their lives. You went on with your life. The girls clearly had a good life, I assume, with their mother and their stepfather, and they were not a financial burden on you. They are now.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kathleen Marsh says her former brother-in-law, Jeffrey Vesna, owes her for dental and furniture bills. Jeffrey admits he hasn't been the best father.
They're your responsibility. The fact that their aunt has chosen to assume their care does not relieve you of the financial obligation to support them. You should have been sending them money since September, since they were living with you, or one of them at least, during some of the summer months. You knew from September on, when she decided to go back to live with her other sister and her aunt, that support had to be forthcoming from you. And the fact that you don't earn a lot of money suggests to me that at minimum you should have said, I want to send you, without an order, $200 a month, $250 a month, just to show that I want to do the right thing. You didn't do that.
Your Honor, yes, I did. I have talked to her, and I said, look, we need to sit down. I was going to sit down with my fiance, figure out all the bills, the finances, get everything taken care of, the major bills that need to be taken care of in the household, and I already elected and told her I would send her money
didn't do
every
anything.
month.
Mr.
She
Vizina.
never got back to me. Next thing I know...
She doesn't have to get back to you.
I didn't know about the court case, Your Honor.
I don't care about court case. I'm talking about father case, Mr. Vizina. Father case. Doesn't have to be court case. You don't have to say we want to sit down and talk to you. Her life is in a turmoil. She has 2 daughters, she's taken on 2 teenagers that she's taken on because you were a non-parent for the last 10 years or more. It's not her responsibility. She's taken, her life is turned upside down. Not yours. You go on. You have another baby. You have a fiancé. You do your thing. Your life's not been turned around. She doesn't have to sit down with you. You just have to write out a check. That doesn't take a lot of sitting. And when the court gets around to making a support order and formalizing it, then you know what your bottom line obligation is. You have a substantial obligation here, sir. They're going to start taking out of your salary $1,026 a month because you didn't show up at this hearing. And what you're going to have to do is then you're going to have to move to open up the default in this case. It's going to cost you money to say either I was never served, I didn't know, what else. But you know what the law says now? The law says that if they can prove that you were served with these papers and just chose not to come, they are not going to reduce any of the arrears that have accrued since December. So every single month since December, you're going to owe $1,026, and they're going to start taking out of your check. So you better hurry up and get a job. You got it? Because he's going to be hustling around to support these 2 children who he hasn't supported since they were babies. When was the last time you sent money pursuant to a court order for the support of your 2 children?
Sent money out of my own pocket. As far as after my ex-wife died, no, I haven't.
No, before she died.
I'll admit I haven't.
Shh. Before she died.
Before she died, I never had to. It came directly out of my paycheck.
When was the last time it came directly out of your paycheck?
I don't recall the exact
What
date.
year?
This last year, 2000.
I believe I have something on that, actually.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
Your Honor, they knew how to get a hold of me. They were going through the state of Wyoming. The state of Wyoming is the middleman taking care of all this, so...
Just a minute. Just a minute. So you were under a court order, and it was coming directly out of your check, the amount of $325.40. Is that right?
That sounds like it might be right. The last I knew, the court order was higher than that.
As of this date, you owe $23,765.55 for the support of your children.
Yes, I do, and there's a reason it's that high, too, but you probably don't want to hear that either.
I don't want to hear that reason. Mr. Vizina, I assume you were working someplace else at the time this $325 came out of your check. Is that right?
It's working for, I believe it was Airmotive, painting aircraft.
So that's where this money was coming out of?
I believe it was coming out of there.
But then when you moved over to news, did you ask him to start taking out money?
There was no current support order. Since my ex-wife had passed away, the support order, there was no current support order out there. I had contacted the state of Wyoming Child Services about the child support. They said there was no existing order. They don't even have one on record, and if they did, they would have contacted me.
You contacted them why? Why did you contact them?
About child support and about making arrangements for my arrearages, paying off my back child support.
Just a minute. Or did you contact them and say, my former wife died, so she's no longer the payee? Did you tell them that?
No, Your Honor, I did. They told me that. I went in and explained to them the situation that I was going to, at one time I was going to try to bring the girls home to live with me. But I thought it wouldn't be right for me to do that because of the fact that I haven't been a terrific father. They don't know me very well, so I wanted to leave them where they'd be more comfortable with their aunt. They know their aunt, keep them around their friends because of their age. It would have been awful hard, very traumatic on them to bring them down home with me. Mm-hmm. And I'm paying the price for it now. I'm paying the price for it now. In more than monetary value.
Miss Marsh is paying the price for it
Well,
now.
yes, she is.
I would like to just touch on that subject as far as the children's furniture expenses. During the funeral, I told him those girls had nothing. I told him they had no clothes, they had no furnishings, and that I was going to have to take care of all that. And he was just like, oh, geez, that's just too bad. And that's all there was said about it. He would not volunteer to help me out at all.
Okay. The problem is, Marsh, is you cannot purchase something like furniture and then say, now I want him to pay for it. Okay. Consult him later. Sir, listen to me. There is no question in my mind, Mr. Vizina, that the court there notified you of these proceedings, either by serving you personally or by serving you by substituted service. You elected not to appear to travel to the state of Washington. There is no question in my mind that you were notified. Now, you may not have been notified, sir, with regard to the amount of the order, because the order was entered by default. And one of the reasons that Ms. Marsh has not been able to collect this order was because they don't know your Social Security number, They don't know your date of birth. They don't have your driver's license and the state number, because I assume that you need your car to get to work? Shh, listen to me. You need your car to get to work?
Yes. Well, actually, no. I drive my work vehicle, bring it home with me. So technically,
You need
no.
a driver's license
Yes,
to go
I
to
do.
work?
Yes, Your Honor.
Unless you pay support, sir, they're going to take away your driver's license.
Yes, Your
I'm just
Honor, I
telling you
understand.
that. You understand that. I'm sure you've been advised of that. They don't mess around with child support anymore. They're almost as maniacal as I used to be when I was a sitting judge about collecting child support. You have your wallet with you, sir? You have your wallet with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Take it out. You have your Social Security card in there?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Take it out. Can I have your Social Security card, please? And while I'm doing this, you can take out his driver's license, too. Now what we're going to do, Ms. Marsh, is we're going to make copies of both of these documents that you can furnish the court so that they will have his Social Security number and his driver's license. And we also know that currently he is working at a news company, that his monthly gross income is somewhere between $1,400 and $1,600 a month, and that he has additional income from part-time work, and that is probably paid in cash, clearly not reported. Got it? Mm-hmm. Perfect. So we're going to make copies of that before we give him back to Mr. Vizina. You now have a mechanism to attach his salary. Now, that may not be effective because he may move. Mm-hmm. But while your sister may have had all of his information, you didn't. So I see this order is blank with regard to the pertinent information, how to get in touch with him. Right. Sometimes the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. But if you're going to buy things for the girls, and if you want to obligate him, other than the support order, you have to contact him first. He has to be notified first. But I believe, having read the orthodontist's report, at least one of your nieces is in need of having this done yesterday, since he is not forthcoming with either support, and since the order that was entered says that he is to maintain insurance for the children, which I assume he has not done because he says he was looking into that and he hasn't done it. I'm entering a judgment in your favor in the amount of $3,850, which will cover the girl's treatment. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are
Suing her ex-boyfriend, 35-year-old construction worker George Little, for illegally repossessing her car. George says the car in question is his.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please.
Your Honor, this is case number 576 on the calendar in the matter of Saunders versus Little. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Saunders, several years ago, according to your complaint, you and the defendant dated, but then no longer had a dating relationship. There came a time you wanted to buy a car. In the year 2000, your credit wasn't any good, and you asked the defendant whether he would buy the car in his name and you would make the payments on the car as well as the down payment.
Exactly.
Were you dating at the time?
Not at the time.
So the romantic relationship was really over, but you remained on cordial terms?
Exactly.
And he agreed to do that?
Yes.
So you purchased the car, you put down the down payment, you made the monthly payments on the car?
Yes.
So far, is that correct?
No.
Did she put down the down payment?
No.
Who did?
Me.
You put down the down payment on the car?
Yes, it did.
Really?
Yes.
You have a check?
Yes.
Let me see it. Okay. Okay. He has 2 copies of alleged checks for $1,100 made out to Acura. Mm-hmm. So that's an issue. You say you put down the money for the down payment. Make a long story short, he repossessed the car several months later, and you say he had no cause to repossess the car because you had made the payments and paid the insurance. So let me see your checks for the down payment.
I paid cash for the down payments. What had happened is on the day we got the car, he wrote 2 checks that I, in return, turned in for cash. One was turned in on July 18th, which I don't have the one for that one, but I do, in turn, have a copy of his check and the cash that I gave to the car lot on August 2nd so he could get his check back. There were just 2 post-dated checks that we agreed that I would give the cash for and pick up his check and return to him.
So that you actually went to the car dealership, gave them cash to make up these 2 checks.
Exactly.
And they ripped up his checks.
They gave me the check and I returned it to Mr. Little.
Mr. Little, if I were to call the dealership, would they confirm that?
Yes.
That she brought in the cash?
Yes.
And you got your checks back?
Yes.
So then why'd you try to give me this story?
I'm not giving you a story. Miss Saunders...
Just a second. You just told me that you paid the down payment on the car.
Exactly. Miss Saunders don't have the means of that much cash. I did post-date the checks because she didn't have the money. So therefore, instead of taking food out of her children's mouth, I gave her the cash. That's the only thing I'm guilty of.
You gave her cash?
Yeah.
Really? Show me where you withdrew that from the bank.
I don't have a receipt.
Who made the monthly payments on the car?
I did, up until...
Is that correct?
For 3 months, yes.
Why did you let her make the payments on the car?
Because I bought myself a car. Now, being the nice gentleman that I am, the young lady didn't have a vehicle, and we did used to date. I was being courteous of her and her children. I let her use my vehicle, okay? While using my vehicle, I only thought it was right that she make the payments. She was living in one of my homes, which I rented out to her for $750 a month. During this time, the cost of living is increasing. So I called her, well, no, I wrote her a letter and told her the rent will be going up in November, okay? She called me on my cell phone, and we had some issues and words was passed. And I said, well, fine, put in your 30-day notice, and I'll come get my vehicle. She called me the next day, said, that's okay, I'll pay the rent. I told her, no, that's okay. Since I've been this kind to you, and you mistake my kindness for a weakness, you just give me your 30-day notice, I'll come pick up my vehicle. And that's what I did. She put a 30-day notice in. And months later, I'm here being sued.
I want to see your bank withdrawal for the $1,100.
At the time, I did not have an account. The reasons the checks...
Where did you get the cash, the $1,100 from?
I sold the car I currently had to my brother. That's the reason he wrote the checks post-dated, because my brother was making 2 payments towards a car that I had already that I had agreed to sell to him.
So your brother bought your car for how much?
He bought my car for $800.
And he gave you $800 in cash?
He gave me $500, and he gave me, that was the $500 I took in on the 18th. He gave me another $300 at the end of the month of July, and I got paid for my job on the 2nd of August. And I took $300 from my work, and the $300 my brother had given to me, and I took it into them and picked up his check. I've had the car ever since the car was bought.
What I don't understand, Mr. Little, is why would you give her the cash
exactly
if they already had your checks?
Because she was supposed to go half with me, okay? I had my half. One is for $600, I think, and one is for $500.
What do you mean she was supposed to go half? What does that mean?
On the down payment.
Well, you didn't tell me that, sir. Now we're getting a different story. You didn't tell me she was supposed to go half on the down payment.
Okay, well, she was supposed to go half. But like I said, Miss Saunders don't have the means of that kind of money.
Don't go back to where we were. You just told me a moment ago, sir, that you put down the down payment on the car. Your 2 checks are $11,000. Those 2 checks are for $600 and
$500.
$500. Sort of strange that you wrote out 2 checks. I assume that they're both from the same bank?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. From the same account, it looks like? Yes. So if this was your down payment, why would you then give her cash to bring to the dealership instead of just calling the dealership and saying, look, deposit my checks? Why go through the exercise of going to a bank and taking out cash and giving it to the plaintiff so that the plaintiff can take it over to the dealership and give them cash? They already had your checks. Why would you do that? Don't know.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Aisha Saunders says her ex-boyfriend, George Little, illegally repossessed her car.
Okay, so now you have the car, and he came and repossessed it.
Yes.
It is your contention, I assume, Ms. Saunders, that this car was your car.
Yes.
It was in his name, and you had a verbal contract with him that you would pay the expenses on the car.
Yes.
You would pay off the loan on the car.
Exactly.
Whenever the car was paid off, he would turn over the title over to you.
Exactly.
Is that your arrangement?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you maintain insurance on this car?
Yes, I did.
Which company did you use to insure?
I have my declarations right here.
Okay, sir. Did you have insurance on this car?
No.
Well, if it's your car, then you would have insurance on it. You see,
Not
she
if
has
I'm
a
not
policy.
driving it at the time.
Oh, sure you would.
Why?
Of course.
If I'm not driving it, it's protected because she's driving it, right?
Didn't get it. No, sir. If I believed you that you were allowing her to drive your car because you're a gentleman, you're just allowing her to drive your car like I would allow Bird to drive my car. He would allow me to drive him. But if it's his car, he keeps the he gets insurance. Or if it's my car, I get insurance. And anybody that you allow to drive the car is covered under that policy. But she took out insurance, and it's interesting, in your own name. And she paid substantially for it. $1,300, $1,340 for the premium for the whole year. Why would she do that if she were only anticipating using the car on a month-to-month basis? Don't know that either.
She had help in paying the premium also.
By whom?
By me.
Really? Show me.
I deal in cash.
I deal in justice. How much are the car payments each month?
They were $383 a month.
And how many months did you have the car?
I had the car for 4 months.
3.
I only make 3 monthly payments.
Okay. Just explain to me why you're suing for $5,000. I don't understand that.
For the insurance I put towards the car, and also Mr. Little came and got the car without any reason. He left me and my children without transportation.
You don't get compensated for that. You also had the full use of the car.
Yes.
But I find that Mr. Little breached his oral contract with you. You had an oral contract with him.
So she said.
So I believe.
May I speak something else?
No. So I believe. Your oral contract with him was you would take care of this car, including the insurance on the car. You would make the payments on the car.
Yes.
He didn't go to buy this 1996 car himself. He's too well dressed to drive around in a 1996 car.
Yeah, he drives
a Mercedes. That's right.
Right. So he didn't go and buy this 1996 Blazer for himself.
Yes, I did.
I'm speaking. And for whatever reason, you became an ungrateful former friend of his. So he got annoyed. And since it was in his name, he went and took it back. Now, among other things, I know that he did that because he writes in his answer, she needs to learn how to put property in her own name if she feels she owns something. Then she will have a legal right to sue someone. However, Mr. Little, there are such things as verbal agreements. And I believe that a verbal agreement, a verbal contract, existed between the two of you that this was going to be her car, and that you breached that agreement without good cause because she had fulfilled her end of the bargain. And I am awarding her $2,559 for breach of contract. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Mr. Little was bitter because I had moved on and found a stable relationship.
I've done everything I could possibly do with the plaintiff, you know what I mean? From videotape on down.
Judge Judy's great. She made a good decision.
Anybody like a copy, I could mail it to him.
And now the next case.
All parties on Okalski versus Martin. Step forward, please.
19-year-old machinist Eric Okalski is suing his brother's ex-girlfriend, 19-year-old personal assistant Tanya Martin, for stealing a mountain bike, a CD player, and a television.
Mr. Okalski, the defendant was a friend of yours, and she and another gal were holding a garage sale.
Yes.
According to your complaint, you had some old stuff that you wanted to sell at the garage sale. You brought it over there. Your stuff came up missing. The defendant says she doesn't know about the stuff, where it went. She doesn't have it. She's not giving you any money. That's what the case is about.
Yes, it is.
Okay. First, what stuff did you put into the garage sale?
The garage sale, I put in...
Take your hands out of your pockets.
A specialized hard rock mountain bike.
A bike?
Yeah, it's a very expensive mountain bike.
Very expensive?
Yes, a CD player.
Just a second. Very expensive. I have to write that down.
Write that down. Hard rock mountain bike.
Okay. So, a very expensive mountain bike. What's next?
A Kenwood portable CD player.
What else?
2.3-inch color TV. That was it, right there.
Okay, so those 3 items.
Yep.
Now, did you bring these things over to the garage sale?
Yes, I did.
With whose permission?
Selling them at the garage sale?
Yeah.
Yeah, under her permission and my brother Stefan, which was dating her at the time. They were living together.
So, did you speak to Stefan or did you speak to the defendant about bringing
About the
stuff?
garage sale?
Yeah.
I spoke to my brother about it.
Okay, that's what I figured. And he said it was okay to bring your stuff
Yes, it
over.
was.
And he was going to be there for the garage sale?
For the most part, he was.
Okay. Now, according to you, you didn't get any of these things back.
No, I did not.
But according to you, there was another young lady involved whose name was Becky.
Becky.
Now, somehow you got some money from Becky. How did you get money from Becky?
Well, as soon as she received the paper in the mail to appear in court, she contacted me and told me that she was going to pay me for her part of the theft. So.
What do you mean she was going to pay you for her part of the theft?
She admitted guilt to stealing the bike, so she was going to pay me for the bike itself, which was the $343.
So she admitted stealing the bike?
Yes, she did, and she paid me in full.
Okay. Did you know before that Becky had taken the bike?
I had reason to believe. My friend Thomas over here witnessed the two talking about the incident, and he overheard.
Well, don't tell me what Thomas overheard.
Well,
Where's Thomas?
Can I, Tom?
Step
come
up.
up here.
Maybe 2 or 3 days after the bike had come up missing, I went over to the apartment just to visit or whatever.
Visit which apartment?
Tanya and Stefan's apartment. And as I walked in, I overheard Tanya. Oh, actually, I overheard Becky asking Tanya if she had told Stefan about the bike.
What did Tanya say?
As soon as they saw that I was there, they just kind of quieted down about it.
So it was clear that Becky took the bike.
If not the two of them together.
Yeah.
Well, you don't know that.
Yeah, that's all.
You don't know that.
Not for sure, no.
But Becky admitted she took the bike and paid you for the bike.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so now we're only talking about your CD player and this 2-inch TV set.
Yeah, there's also some CDs where were $45. She stole 3 CDs from me.
We don't know that she stole anything.
Well, we don't know for a fact, but...
Right. Well, that's what I want to know. What makes you think that she is responsible for this CD player and your 2-inch television set?
At the time, that was the only possibility, because if they were running the garage sale, it was their responsibility to take care of the stuff.
No. You made the arrangements to bring your stuff over with your brother.
They're a couple. Everything
well,
they
why
do
is
is
it your
supposed
brother
to be...
standing over there?
Because I know my brother didn't steal my bike.
No, Becky took your bike. That's why she paid you
Yeah.
the money. We're not talking about the bike. The bike's out of this game.
Yeah.
We're talking about a small CD player and a small television set.
Yes.
You have no evidence that the defendant stole it, correct?
Becky's testimony, but
Becky's
she
not
wasn't-
here.
Yeah, she wouldn't come here, so...
Becky's not here.
Yeah. She told me herself
Don't,
that...
listen to me. Don't try to get in there if you can't.
Yeah.
We're talking about CD player and TV, and your arrangement was with your brother.
It was with the both of them, because it was
No,
their
your
apartment.
arrangement was with your brother. You told me that you spoke to your brother, who was going to be there during the garage sale, and you wanted to bring over some items. So you can't even charge her on a theory of, you know, some sort of a bailment. She wasn't going to recognize anything out of this sale. You didn't say to her, I'll give you a commission for anything that you sell, did you?
No.
She didn't get anything out of it, just the headache. What happened to his CD player, do you know?
While the garage sale was running, it was my apartment, and none of my stuff was being sold. Becky, I let live with me, and she wanted to sell stuff from her old house. He had made arrangements to bring some stuff over. We all
Listen to
agreed.
me.
I'm sorry?
I asked you a simple question. I didn't ask you from the day of the flood.
Right.
I said, do you know?
Yes.
I said, do you know what happened to his CD player? Did you see his CD player?
I did see the CD player. But there's, in the report, there's 2 CD players, and the one we knew was stolen. Like, there was a guy, just a regular pedestrian, stole it from the garage sale, took off. And we told
How
him right
convenient.
away. We did. We told Eric right away that he stole it.
Did she tell you that a CD player had been stolen?
Yes, don't you think that's quite convenient?
Just a second, I don't know. Did she tell you a CD player had been
Yeah,
stolen?
she told me it was stolen.
Okay.
And once she told me that the CD player was stolen, that's when I noticed that my bike was gone, that the TV was gone, and so were my CDs.
Sir, you don't have a claim against her. It is possible that she took your stuff. It's possible that your brother took your stuff. It's possible that Becky took your stuff. It's possible. She is under no responsibility. If you made no arrangement with her with regard to her being responsible for your things that you were placing in her house.
She was the one that ran the garage sale.
That doesn't make any difference. That doesn't make any difference. Your discussion was with your brother. You want to say that she's responsible because they were a couple? I mean, that's what you said to me. They were a couple. You spoke to your brother. You said, I want to bring some stuff over. They're running a garage sale. You're going to be there? Yes, I'm going to be there. You brought your stuff over. Your brother evidently took off at least part of the time because it certainly gave Becky enough time to take the bike, right?
Yes.
But your conversations weren't with her with regard to her being responsible for your things.
Did you speak to your brother when you brought them over there?
Yes, I did actually.
So he was present when you
Yes,
brought them over
and
there?
so was she.
Doesn't make any difference, so was he. I'm not saying she didn't, but you can't come into court and say, I believe that she did over Becky, over my brother, over some people who may have been at the garage sale, may have taken my stuff, because she's under no responsibility to keep it safe,
Well,
unless you had a business relationship with her where she agreed to keep it safe. She did not. Your conversations were with him, so your case is dismissed. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Bill, unpaid credit card charges, and for the cost of a gun.
Miss Ruiz, you and Mr. Peterson lived together for how long?
4 years.
And you lived together in a home that you purchased.
Yep.
In your name.
Yes.
Mortgage was in your name.
Yes.
I gather from reading the complaint and the answer that Mr. Peterson and you had an arrangement whereby you shared expenses on the house.
Mm-hmm.
So those shared expenses include the mortgage payment.
Mm-hmm.
And how much was the mortgage payment?
A little over $700 a month.
So while Mr. Peterson was there, he was helping you pay down the mortgage?
Yeah.
Okay, and he has no equity in the house?
No.
It is your claim that you separated,
Mm-hmm.
and he owes you for two things. He owes you for a gun that you purchased for him, that he said he would pay for, and that he owes for some expenses on the house, some propane or something.
The propane credit cards.
And Mr. Peterson said the gun was a gift from you to him, and the expenses on the house he paid for up until the time he left. He owes you nothing.
Okay.
When did you move out of the house, Mr. Peterson?
December 30th, 2007.
When was the gun purchased?
September 31st, 2007.
Were you working at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
You were putting money into a joint account to pay expenses?
Yes, ma'am.
Was this gun purchased on a credit card?
Yes, it was.
And were your credit cards paid for out of a joint account?
Yes.
How much was the gun?
It was $1,711, I believe.
Now, let me understand this. You purchased a gun, and it was placed on a credit card that was in your name.
In my name, yep.
Did you have any responsibility on that card at all?
Oh, ma'am.
Were all of the purchases for the household made on that credit card?
The purchase of the house?
Yes. When you went out for dinner?
Oh, yeah, when we went out for dinner. Stuff like that, yeah.
Was used on that credit card?
Yep.
And each of you put in money each month into a joint account. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you put in, Mr. Peterson?
Whatever my check was, it went directly into the account.
Well, give me some idea.
About $300 a week. I have my check statements right here.
Can I see it, please? So it is correct that his checks went directly into the joint account?
That's right.
To pay all the bills?
To help pay, yeah.
And how did you get cash to live on, sir?
I have an ATM card.
So you would draw out money for your personal cash, just
Yes.
walking around money. And how much were you putting in the bank?
It was between $400 to $500 a week, plus I got child support, which was about $200 a month.
How many children do you have?
I have one child.
And that child was living with you?
Yes.
Okay. You moved out on December the 30th.
Yes, ma'am.
When was the last time you put a check into the account?
Whenever I got paid the week before.
Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Fine. Then why do you think he owes you any money?
Because credit cards. And it's all from when we were together. And so I expect him to pay half of it. I will pay my share as long as he pays half of his. I mean, we both used the credit cards. We both ate the dinners. We both lived in the house. I don't see why he shouldn't have to pay for it. That's
Depends
all I
upon
ask
what
for.
the expenses were for.
For us, going out to eat, his Christmas with his family, presents for my family, anything that we needed.
Let's talk about the credit card, Mr. Peterson. Would it be a fair statement that it was your intention when this money was charged on the credit card that this was to be paid out of joint funds?
All our bills were paid out of joint funds.
Was
Yes.
that your intention?
Yes.
So it would be a fair statement, sir, that Ms. Ruiz would be right in saying that any charges that were made prior to December 30th when you left should be shared between the two of you equally.
It depends on what the bills were for.
Well, you didn't
I have
go
no
through,
proof of what
just a
the
second.
amount.
You didn't go through the bills when you were living together, did you? And say this was yours and this was mine? You just paid the bills together, jointly.
Yes.
Then it would be a fair statement that had you not left on December 30th, you would have continued to contribute your check and pay down the bills.
Yes.
Perfect. What was the balance as of December the 30th?
On just the credit cards are we going through?
Just the credit card.
Because I got 3 of them. I got 2 U.S. bank cards and 1 Home Depot card.
Forget Home Depot. That's your house.
He bought it.
Forget Home Depot. You think you bought at Home Depot, went into your home?
I can't even stay there now.
Well, I don't care whether you can stay there or not. That's what it was purchased for your house. I assume that you're going to sell it. I don't know whether you're going to make a profit or not.
I can't even sell it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Angelica Ruiz says former live-in boyfriend, Brett Peterson, owes for a propane bill, unpaid credit card charges, and the cost of a gun.
Now, other than the Home Depot card, let me have the balances on the other 2 credit cards.
The one is $7,898.94.
Let me see it, please.
I'll just give them both to you. And they're down at the bottom.
The other one is $1,500. It's $9,300. His half of those credit cards is $4,650.
Okay.
What else?
His gun.
He's not paying you for his gun, madam.
Why?
I would assume that one of these credit cards is also for the gun. Is that right?
No. Oh, yeah, you're right. Right. I added up without the gun.
I added up with the gun. The 2 credit cards. Half. Because you put it on a credit card where joint monies were used.
But he worked an extra job just to pay off that gun. He needed it for his hunting season, which was before he got the money.
Miss Ruiz, I'm sympathetic with you, madam. You don't have what all these expenses were for. You don't have whether these were expenses for your child, for whom you get child support, who's not his responsibility. You have none of that.
Okay.
Do you understand?
I understand.
It's always messy when there's a separation.
Yep.
It's much more cumbersome when there is no marriage, because when there's a marriage, the law usually provides this is your property, this is your property. But I am less sympathetic, Ms. Ruiz, because at least for part of the time that he lived there, for 4 years, he was paying down a mortgage for a house for which he has no equity. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,650. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
B.J. Harris says his sister, Rosa Harris White, threw an ashtray at his car in a fit of anger. Rosa claims she was defending herself.
Mr. Harris, the defendant is your sister.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And it is your claim that she vandalized your car.
That's correct.
You want her to fix it.
That's correct.
Your sister says that she was merely defending her in the process of assaulting her. And she didn't mean to vandalize your car. She was trying to protect herself by throwing this object which accidentally hit your car. That's what she says.
Yes.
From what I gather from these papers, Miss White, you have a baby.
Yes.
And your mother has custody of the baby.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And why does your mother have custody of the baby?
Last year in November, I went to jail because of an argument me and her had, so she pressed charges. I went to jail.
How long did you go to jail for?
Only in a week.
Were you living with your mother at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
Is the child court-ordered placed with your mother?
Yes.
Was there a hearing with regard to that?
Yes.
Did you give testimony, or did you consent to your mother having custody?
No, I didn't even know she had custody. Actually, I received a paper in the mail saying she had custody, and I didn't know why. So.
Were you involved with drugs?
No.
Were you involved with alcohol?
No.
Were you partying?
No.
You mean you just decided to let your mother keep custody of your child?
Well, I went to court, and they kept custody of him, actually. So
you went to court?
Yes, I did.
Oh, well, there we go. So you went to court, and you spoke to the judge?
Yes.
And there was testimony taken,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know. You think that they got me in this bench from Central Casting? You think that they actually... I'm here because I did this work for a long time. Do you understand?
Yes.
So after a custody hearing, the court determined that you were sufficiently unreliable, I will not say unfit, and gave your mother custody of the child. Now, the child lives with your mother. Do you have visitation, supervised or unsupervised?
Supervised.
Supervised by whom?
The people downtown, the DSS worker.
You showed up at your mother's home to see your son on what date?
I think the 18th.
18th of February?
Yes.
Were you supposed to be there?
Yes.
I thought you said you had supervised visitation downtown.
No, actually, they just changed it to downtown. I was having supervised visit by my mother.
Yes.
Actually, Your Honor, on February 18th, which is when this incident occurred, she had actually gotten into an altercation with her boyfriend, who tends to have a penchant for getting in trouble with the law. And so because he had attacked her, she had came over to my mother's house.
Which that's not true.
Hold on a second. I assume that that's what she told you.
Yes.
Then, she doesn't say that now because Mr. Wonderful is sitting right here.
Correct.
Good.
And by the way,
Listen to
he
me.
is on probation, Your Honor, so I don't even know why he's here.
And he's not allowed to leave the state?
I believe so. We reside in New York State.
New York State allow you to leave the jurisdiction, sir?
No, I'm off probation.
You're off probation. Super.
News to me. Sorry.
Well, 10 million people will know, including your probation officer if you ever had one.
Correct.
Perfect. Now, on February 18th, do you know whether the order for supervised visitation with the caseworker downtown was still in existence?
I'm not aware of that.
Was it still in existence?
Yes.
So you were not supposed to be at your mother's house?
No, I was supposed to be at my mother's house, actually. They just got changed, like, last week, maybe.
Well, if it got changed last week, then you were allowed to have supervised visits.
Yes, I was.
Look at me. Supervised visits in your mother's house, supervised by your mother. That's what you told me?
Yes.
Okay. According to what you wrote in your answer to his complaint, your son wanted to go with you.
Yes.
And your mother said you couldn't take him. That's what you wrote here.
I said...
That's what you wrote. My son started to put on his shoes like he wanted to go with me. My brother would not allow my son to go with me. I said if my son wanted to go with me, he could. That's what you wrote.
Oh, yeah, but
couldn't.
she let him go with
Just
me.
a second. But he couldn't go with you because there's a court order for supervised visitation, supervised at your mother's house. So you had no son, whether he wanted to go with you or not. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Now tell me what happened, because after that, my brother then took my son's stuff from him so that he could not leave.
Yes.
That's what you said happened, which is absolutely the right thing to happen. You did absolutely perfect so far, because that's what the order is. Supervised visits at the house. Do you live with your mother?
No, I don't.
You were just visiting there?
Yes, I was.
Okay.
He was living.
He asked my mother if she wanted me gone. My mother said yes. Then you're going to tell me what happened. Your mother said, yes, I want her gone.
Then my brother comes towards me. I said, don't put your hands on me. Let me grab my phone charger out the wall, and I'll be on my way.
He comes towards you. Keep going slowly, because I'm old.
All right.
Go ahead.
After that, he called me a tramp, AB, so I called him so when we was arguing, actually, when I was going out of the house. He pushed me down the stairs, and I grabbed the weapon, and I defended myself.
He put you down the stairs?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, and you fell?
Yes.
You fell. How many stairs did you fall?
My mother has maybe 4 or 5 stairs.
And you actually fell? Did you fall on your knees? Did you fall on your face? Did you fall on your hands?
I fell on my right knee.
On your right knee. Was it bruised?
Just a little bit.
Did you show it to the police?
No.
Did the police respond?
No. After I left, I called the police. The police said it was a car coming to the address.
You called the police?
Yes, I did.
Why did you call the police?
Because my brother put his hands on me.
Do you have the police report?
No, I do not.
Well, why didn't you get it?
Because the place where I did the police report at, they said they didn't do relatives. So I went to the regular police station. They told me they didn't have it on record. So basically they threw it out, so I couldn't bring it.
Now, just let me follow this. So he threw you down the stairs, Miss White, and now you're lying on one knee down the stairs, the bottom of the stairs. Right?
Actually,
no, listen to me. You're lying on one knee. That's according to you at the bottom of the stairs.
I said I banged my knee. You asked me what happened. What was
No. I said, did you fall on your
fell down
hands?
the
Did you
stairs.
fall on your face? And you said on one knee. Have an intact mind.
Oh, yeah, on my right knee. Yes, I did.
So you're lying at the bottom of the stairs on your right knee, right? Now
Yeah.
you're down there. Where's the ashtray?
On the porch.
Shh.
Sorry.
Do I look like I need help from you?
Absolutely not, Your Honor.
All right. So the ashtray is on the porch, and the porch is 4 steps up. Is that right?
Yes.
So you got up off your knee, and you went towards your attacker.
Yes.
Because he's your attacker. He's
Yes.
now thrown you off the porch.
Yes.
So you get up off your knee, you walk up the 4 steps, and you grab the ashtray, right?
Yes.
And then you throw it at your attacker,
Yes.
who was standing at the top of the stairs.
It missed him and it went to his car, I guess.
Oy. Oy. Oh. Oh. Can I see the estimate on the car, please?
Yes.
Do you live together?
No, we do not.
Who do you live with?
I live with my sister-in-law.
Sister-in-law.
Yes, his wife.
Do you work?
Yes.
What do you do?
I work at Taco Bell.
You work full-time?
Yes.
Do you send money to support your child?
No, it goes through child support. I pay child support.
That's what I mean.
Yes.
You pay child support. How much?
$25.
How often?
It's supposed to be every month.
$25 a month?
Yeah.
Have a picture of the car?
Yes.
I'd like to see it, please. You don't want to say anything, do you?
Nah.
Smart.
No.
Oh, she hit the roof of the car.
She did.
Oh, so she's standing on top of
The porch.
And what did she say when she threw the ashtray?
Well, as she actually never fell down the stairs, Your Honor.
Just a second. I like the machinations of her story
Sure.
better. It's not truthful.
I do too, actually.
It's not truthful, but I got
it. Okay.
Okay. And is that the ashtray that she threw on the
That's
top
the
of the car? Perfect. Oh. Charges for the plaintiff in the amount of $326.25. Thank you
Your
very
Honor.
much. That's all.
21-year-old Kristen Capizzola is suing her former roommate, 22-year-old Joshua Courier, for rent, a broken computer, and the cost of pay-per-view adult movies.
You know, I decided that we could save the judicial system a whole bunch of money and just have much smaller apartments that were cheaper, that people could have themselves so they don't have to have roommates. And we would be able to save as a community fortunes of money because we wouldn't have all these cases. Then I would, however, be out of a job, and my children would be very unhappy. Ms. Capizzola, the defendant used to be your roommate. You claim he owes you some money. He owes you money for rent and utility bills, and he damaged your computer, and he downloaded porn on your computer, and it was very messy. Mr. Courier says, I'm cute. Aside from saying I'm cute, he says, well, he sort of ran into some difficulty, and he's going to explain it all to me. This is the girlfriend?
That's a friend.
This is the girlfriend that downloaded the porn on the computer.
Nah.
What do you do, Mr. Courier?
Cell phones.
Cell phones for whom?
T-Mobile.
How long have you been working for them?
Like 2 months.
How much do you make at T-Mobile?
It's hourly, like $8 or $9 an hour.
You take home a paycheck every couple of weeks. How much is your paycheck?
Roughly $8.50.
And who do you live with?
I live by myself.
What is this? I mean, is that a question or is that a statement?
I live by myself.
And how much rent do you pay?
It's $6.50.
You have a car?
No.
Have any other big expenses?
No.
Great. So you would say you're on your feet financially?
Yes.
Great. That's really good. Because one of the things that Ms. Capizzola says is that you told her you would pay her back for covering your rent when you got on your feet.
Yes.
She's got to back into it, that's all. You know, you can't get on there right in the front. Right in the front's boring. You got to back into it.
There you go.
Right?
That's right.
All right, Ms. Capizzola, when did you start to room with, and it was just a roommate, is that right?
Yes.
Just a roommate. The charming Mr. Courier.
October of 2006, he contacted me looking for a place to stay. I offered mine and my mother's home, with her permission, of course. We lived together there for approximately 3 weeks and then signed a lease in mid-November to move out.
How long had you known him?
About 3 years.
From where?
We met at a party.
You thought he was cute and nice?
Yeah.
He is, yeah. He's just a mooch. Yeah. So, you moved into this place in
November.
Both of you signed the lease?
Yes, we did.
Now, he paid his rent for a while, and then according to
No.
him, he hit some hard times.
The rent was never paid to begin with. The first month we were there, he mysteriously lost a money order, and I was forced to pay the entire months of that rent.
How much was that?
That was $320. But the next 2 months went well. He did
Great.
pay rent on time.
Great. Well, that's what he says pretty much. Until April of 2007.
Correct.
What happened in April 2007?
My check bounced. She called me and told me that it bounced when I was at work and that we need to figure out how we were going to pay it. And so showed up at the lease. I don't know, like a week went by. She called me and told me.
Get over, please. You know I'm getting older by the second.
Okay,
Did she cover your rent?
in April?
Yeah.
No.
You paid it.
No.
Who paid it?
Nobody.
How could you not pay rent? Did you pay the rent?
Yes, I did.
Of course she did. You mean the landlord says you're such a nice guy, I'm going to let you just breeze over? How much rent did you cover for him in April?
For March and April, I covered $960. Total, I covered $1,600 and six.
Now, according to you, you don't really deny this. In your answer, you said, I always paid my rent until April when I was having money issues. Kristen told me not to worry. She told me just to get back on my feet.
Yes.
Well, you're back on your feet, right?
Yes.
So you got to pay her the rent.
I don't feel like I owe her the money because she told me not to worry about it. She said, sign yourself off the lease and then move out by the 1st. And I got the rest. And she was there.
1st of what?
The 1st of May.
1st of May?
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about March and April.
When I paid March rent, my check bounced. In April,
Well, I understand that.
And then April, I had like a couple days until rent was due, and that's when the check bounced. That's when she called me and said the check bounced.
We're talking about rent for half the month when you first moved in, when you didn't have it, and for 2 months,
Yeah.
March and April, and you moved out in May. Is that right?
Yes.
That's all I'm talking about. Do you have proof that you paid that rent?
No.
And are you back on your feet?
Yes.
Perfect. Cute, but no cigar. What else do you want from him?
I would like half of the Comcast bill that I paid for 5 months. The agreement was we wanted cable, we wanted internet, we wanted a phone, so...
You should have turned it off. You should have turned it off. If he wasn't paying it and he was not being terribly responsible with money, then you should have turned it off. You don't need cable.
Right.
Hum.
I would at least like to be reimbursed for the porn that was rented on our cable bill.
Yes, sir. Now, who rented the porn?
My ex-girlfriend.
And your ex-girlfriend was your visitor?
Yes.
And did she watch this all by herself?
Yes, I had no recollection that she was watching it. I
Well,
didn't
how do you know it was her?
She told me. But she told me she paid it, so I didn't.
How much was the porn?
$81.90.
$1,681. Your guest? Your worries. What else?
My computer that is no longer in commission. I had to purchase a new computer. My computer is basically totaled. My mom was there when it happened.
Well, what happened?
Him and one of his friends were downloading music, and the blue screen of death came on, and the computer never worked again.
For permission to do that?
He had my permission to be on the computer, yes. But I had no idea that viruses were being downloaded. And the second it happened, he told me, and he's like, I'll help you pay for half of it.
What happened, sir?
Actually, the night, I guess it crashed, I wasn't even there. I came home like afterwards, and her mom and my friend was there, and they were watching TV. And they said the computer did not work. And I said, okay, what happened? And they said it just crashed. And I said, okay. And then she was like blaming my friend. And then I was like, that's not right. She downloaded music on it too, so it doesn't matter.
And that's why I was only suing for half.
Did you?
Yes.
Forget it. All right, you owe for the rent and you owe for your girlfriend's porn. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,681. Thank you.
Matthew Terry claims ex-wife Kelly Terry owes for injuries he received during an argument in her home. Kelly is countersuing for harassment and for making false charges to Child Protective Services.
Mr. Terry, the defendant is your former wife.
Yes.
You have 5 children.
Yes.
When were you divorced?
Finally in July of 2005.
And I assume you were divorced because you decided that you couldn't make a, right?
Yes.
Fair statement?
Yes.
So after your divorce, you did the most ludicrous thing that I ever heard of. You moved into her house, rented a room, according to you, so that you could be close to your children. Is that right?
It's to help out with the children. There's 5 of them, and they're pretty overbearing sometimes.
Well, that's a great idea, but if you're going to live with her, you might as well be married to her. Living there under these circumstances is really ridiculous. In any event, to show you just how ridiculous, you claim that your former wife assaulted you.
Yes.
At a time when you were, in fact, living in the house, and you want her to pay for your medical bills, want her to compensate you for your injuries. Your former wife says you started the argument. She just finished it. And since that time, you've embarked on a campaign of harassment, and she is counterclaiming. Tell me when this incident happened, Mr. Terry.
Happened February 26th of this year.
And according to what I read in your complaint, you were in the house watching TV with some of the kids.
Yes.
What were you watching?
I believe we were watching NHRA on ESPN.
You were watching?
NHRA, it's automobile racing.
And how many of the children were you watching auto racing with?
I believe all 5 of them were watching, and 2 of the oldest ones had left the room at this instant.
How old are the children?
They range from 7 to 16.
So the 16-year-old left.
Yes.
One below that is how old?
14.
That one left. So 3 little
Out of
ones,
the room, yes.
Little ones are there. Tell me what happened.
We were sitting there watching TV. She came out of her room, which is adjoining the living room, and started swearing and was upset about something, and went to the fireplace, sat down, and was smoking a cigarette. At the whole time, she was sort of cussing me out and saying how negative things were with me.
Why were you angry with him?
I had asked him to help do things around the house and to help with the kids instead of sitting there watching TV.
That's what you do to a husband.
not to a tenant.
Well, he gets a big discount in rent because of his help.
But he was a tenant.
Correct.
If you wanted to boss him around, you should have stayed married to him. Okay, so you were angry because you would ask him to do some chores, help with the kids, and he was sitting around watching TV.
Yes.
Acting like a husband.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Rather than as an almost employee, because if you say that he gets a big discount in his rent, then you're giving up a certain amount of rent in order to get work out of him.
Correct.
So you weren't getting work out of him.
Right.
Recipe for disaster. So you were angry and annoyed and letting him know it.
Yes.
What happened next, Mr. Terry?
She kept raving on and badgering me with her voices.
Mr. Terry, were you ignoring her?
I responded to some of the things.
How did you respond?
Just with my mouth.
In front of your children?
Yes, nothing negative came out of my mouth.
If there was nothing negative that came out of your mouth and she's cursing at you, why don't you tell me what you said to her?
I don't remember. I was concentrating on the program.
Well, try to remember, Mr. Terry. I'm curious what you were
said,
talking about in front of your
I
three...
don't see what the problem is this evening. I'm with the 3 children. They're with me, or all 5 were with me, so it's not like I'm not watching them like she wanted to. And she just kept bickering.
So go ahead. Let me hear.
And she finished her cigarette, got up, charged me, swung at my face, hit me in the shoulder. I have a previous injury, and it's like a tender spot in my shoulder.
You were still sitting on the couch?
Yeah, I was sitting on the front part of the couch, like leaning forward with my hands crossed, just watching the show. And I didn't think she was going to charge me like that. And she came up around the table, took a swung at my face. I went back. She hit me in the shoulder. I fell back, and my feet went up, and I broke the table in front of me.
Go ahead.
And then I sat back up from falling back into the couch, and I looked at the glass on the floor, and she went off saying that I was breaking things and that I did that on purpose. And I said, no, I fell back when you hit my shoulder. And she was really steamed then. And I picked up a big piece of glass, probably 4 foot by 4 foot, over her head, threw it down, my finger, and it hit me in the arch of my foot, cutting it. And then I got up, and she was throwing things at me continuously, and I told her I was going to call the sheriffs, and she said, no, I will do that. I got up to go to the phone, and she was already there, so I just left and went out and sat on the stairs.
Were you treated that night?
No.
The next day?
Yes. I woke up it was painful in my foot, but I thought it might subside over the night, so I went down to my room. After the sheriffs came, they took a statement from both of us, gave her a ticket for battery, and she told the sheriffs that she didn't mean to throw it at my foot. She was trying to aim for the ground. And I was outside the whole time, and the sheriffs...
could you do me a favor and answer my question? Were you treated the next day?
I was treated the next day, yes.
Where?
At San Bernardino Medical Center.
Can I see the papers, please?
Do you want to see the police report?
Yes.
There's the police report, the hospital report, off work notice.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Terry, I'd like you to tell me your version of the events of the 26th of February.
Okay. He was sitting on the couch, and I think just the one youngest child was there. I think the oldest 2, who are actually 15 and 17, were gone because they're usually never at home. And he was sitting on the couch watching TV, and I went and stood in front of the TV and asked him if he would help me do some things around the house. This was in February, 8 months ago, so I don't remember what I needed him to do. However, when I stood in front of the TV, he told me to move my fat because he couldn't see the TV. And the TV is big. It's like a 52-inch TV. And so when he said that, I was furious. So I walked up to him, and as he's sitting in the corner of the couch, and I did put my hand on his shoulder and said to him, get out. We're done. We're not doing this anymore. Get out. And if you don't leave right now, I'm going to call the police. And that's when he kicked the table. And then when he did that, I was furious because my dad gave me that coffee table. It's very expensive. And I did not punch him. I did not hurt him in any way. I picked up the glass because it didn't really like shatter. It shattered but still stayed together. And I picked it up and I showed it to him and I said, look what you did to my table. And I threw it down on the wood right where it was. And again, it broke in like big pieces, you know, but not like shattering, like where there was like sharp edges because it's tempered or something like that. And he immediately got up and I walked over to the phone to call the police.
In February of 2006, was he paying rent to you?
Yes, he was.
And he had paid February's rent?
I believe so.
You can't throw him out.
Right.
And you said, who are you to throw him out?
But he was damaging my property.
No. Listen to me, Miss Terry. You can't do what you did, madam. What you did was 100% wrong. What you did was confuse your circumstance. I mean, you two people elected to have this bizarre arrangement where he rented an apartment room, I don't know what it was, and there was an understanding that he would help out with the children, help out with this, help out with that, but he's not your slave. You can't stand in front of the television set and expect no reaction. That's what wives do, stand in front of the act and say, listen, I asked you to do this and I asked you to do that, and you didn't do it. So? He responded to you. You didn't like it. Sticks and stones will break my bones. Names will never hurt me. You can't put your hands on him. Period. How many days were you out of work, Mr. Terry?
The following day was a Monday. I went to the doctor's. I left work at half day, noon. I was there by 2.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a soils engineer, foundation engineer, inspector.
So how many days' work did you miss?
4 days plus a Saturday. I was taken off work for 3 days, and my employer told me if since I was off
don't tell me what
Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Listen to you
that
trying to talk
no
over me, Mr. Terry. That won't do.
I was taken off work from the doctor Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
That's all. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 3 days.
Yes.
And how much do you earn a day?
$300 a day.
Are you not living in the house now?
No.
How much child support do you pay for your 5 children?
$2,000 a month.
You up to date?
Yes.
Great. When did you move out, sir?
July.
You lived there from February till July?
The following week, I found a new place to live, and it wasn't ready until then.
That is not true.
Just a second. So what you're telling me, Mr. Terry, is you lived there March, April, May, and June, 4 months?
I had the recreational vehicle, and I was gone a lot of the time.
Did you pay rent for those 4 months?
Yes.
Okay. I'm confused, Mr. Terry. If this happened February of 2006 and you decided not to pursue the protective order, even though she was given a ticket, why didn't you move out of the house immediately?
Like I said.
Why did you permit him to stay in the house for 4 months instead of evicting him?
You know, it's...
No. Are those legitimate questions?
Yes, they are.
You could have evicted him. So month-to-month tenant, did he have a lease? No. So he's a month-to-month tenant. So now my question to you, Mr. Terry, is why did you file this case in September or October of 2006, some 8 months later?
Mainly my whole reason for living is to take care of the children, and I work 60 to 70 hours a week, and
why didn't
now
you file this
case?
Well, that's too bad. That's too bad, Mr. Terry. Quite frankly, I was very sympathetic with your position. I don't think that your former wife had the right to put her hands on you to cause this injury. And if you had decided to move out in March, 4 days later, you paid up for February, said, I'm not going to live under these circumstances anymore because it's too violent, I would have heard your case, and I would have said, you're absolutely right, sir. She has to compensate you were out of work. But this is an afterthought. And I don't know why the afterthought right now, Mr. Terry. You want to explain that to me? There has to be a reason for this afterthought.
I didn't want to create any more negativity in the home.
Well, you did by staying there for 4 months, sir.
I think it was more of a positive thing for the children and to take care of the children. That's my main thing.
Just a second. For the last 4 months, is that right?
Yes.
So why would you sue your former wife now?
I'm out of the house, and it would not create any negativity right now.
Oh, really? You think not?
Yes.
You think that the fact that you have children who are certainly of an age of understanding know that their father is suing their mother in court for thousands of dollars wouldn't create negativity?
She sued me in court for divorce.
That's different, sir.
It was more of a financial thing with her.
That's different, sir.
And I did not tell the children there was any litigation going on.
You may not. Don't you think that your litigation against their mother at this point creates stress? I mean, you're suing her for $5,000.
Yes.
And if you're suing her for $5,000, I'm sure that in your financial circumstance, the fact that you rented a room to you indicates that you're not exactly flush with dough. So $5,000 is a lot of money to her. I still don't understand the rationale for 8 months after the event.
I can explain that to you.
Well, I'd like to hear it.
The reason that he filed now is because that's part of my counterclaim for harassment. Because the reason he moved out is because I have a boyfriend. And in the year and a half, we have been divorced. I have never seen anybody else. We have, but not like inside the home or anything, or brought them around the children. And Matt just went berserk when I had somebody come over to the house and meet the kids and stay there. Not stay there, but just interact with the kids, because it's never happened before. And on August 2nd of this year, I have a police report where he came home and my new friend John was there, and Matt just flipped out, just started going crazy. He threatened to throw John off the deck. He threatened all of these things. And so I immediately called the police, and the police stood there while Matt moved out.
Mr. Terry, you have a problem with your wife having a new male friend?
No, not at all.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Matthew Terry says ex-wife Kelly Terry purposely cut him with broken glass during an argument in their home.
So you want to tell me your version of what happened on the 2nd?
Yeah, I came home from work and she called me maybe 20 times on my cell phone while I was at work in meetings, such things. And when I got home, I told her, you can't call me like 20 times a day. I was in meetings and she said, you better respond to me. And so I went downstairs and she chased me all over the house, just badgering me the whole time. I went to make a phone call to the sheriff's and she kept pulling the wire out of the house.
Was her boyfriend there?
No.
So the boyfriend wasn't there?
No.
This had nothing to do with the boyfriend?
No, he wasn't there.
So he wasn't there when the altercation took place? Well, it's interesting because she called the police, and the call that she made to the police says, called the RP and told her that if he ever sees her with her new boyfriend, that he's going to kill him, and also told her that he's going to steal her boat. RP would like an emergency restraining order against the subject. Why?
I don't know anything about that.
You don't?
No.
Okay.
There was no restraining order.
He lived in the house up until that day. And the police were there as he was packing his stuff and leaving. And he did make a comment to John. We were outside, you know, I just wanted him to just go. And he walked by the sliding glass door and said in front of the police, I hope you're clean because I'm calling Child Protective Services to John. I hope your record's clean. And after that, and that's where the counterclaim comes in. This is the second time in my life I've ever been to court. The only other time was divorce court. And the judge commended us on having the most friendly divorce that he had ever seen. And we've been friends, great friends. We're just not good married.
You weren't good living in the same place either.
We were for a long time. A long time we were, until I decided to move on with my life. And that's the problem that he had, is that I guess because I married him, I'm never entitled to be happy. I don't love him like that, you know. He lives in an RV. He parks it in front of my driveway, in the street, in a cul-de-sac. He'll leave it there for 3 days. He'll start fights with the neighbors, and all of this has been since August of this year.
Why, Mr. Terry?
The last time I brought the RV up, she told me to bring it and bring the kids to the dental appointments, and also Kenny, my 8-year-old, has a heart condition. He has to go to echocardiogram. So I brought the vehicle up. She knew that's the only vehicle I drive. I parked it in her driveway.
Yeah.
Plugged into her electricity.
Right. But she said you left it there 3 days.
I was there for 3 days with it.
Did she ask you to move it?
On the third day, after I asked her what was happening with Kenny, Kenny told me that a friend of hers had choked him and thrown him down. And once I brought that up to her attention, it put her off, and she called the sheriff's.
That's not true. I have 2 teenage kids that go to high school, and so my house usually has about 9 or 10 high school kids in it.
Listen, you don't have to hear it.
Yeah.
She wants you to leave her alone. Where do you usually keep your RV?
I live in resorts.
Keep it there. Just keep it out of her driveway.
Yes.
All right, Ms. Terry, I'm not entertaining your counterclaim for harassment right now or ever. I think that things have happened, and he's just got to get over the fact that you're moving on. Moving up, moving on, moving out. You're absolutely entitled to do that. Hopefully, and I want you to pray every night that he meets a nice young lady, because that's the way that he's going to move on. He's going to move on. He's going to take you off his plate and put somebody else on his plate. Go looking for somebody. Go to Match.com. Go someplace. Go someplace, Mr. Terry. You'll find somebody who absolutely adores you.
I'm not after her at all.
Good.
My whole thing since the divorce was to take care of the children. That's my main thing.
Listen to me.
I raised them.
Listen to me. My sense is that you both are trying to be reasonable parents.
Yes.
You're just frustrating your children in the process. And if you have occasional spats, that's unfortunate, but it's not unexpected. You're going to have occasional spats. If you didn't fight, then you would still be living together. But, Mr. Terry, there is no way that I'm awarding you $5,000 and taking that out of the mouths of your children. That's just not going to happen. You are, however, entitled to reimbursement for the 3 days that you were out of work as a result of your former wife's actions. That's $900. Did you have any unreimbursed medical bills?
Yes.
What were the unreimbursed medical bills? Unreimbursed.
I have to pay back the insurance company, Pfizer
What insurance
Health,
company?
Pfizer Health, Benecite, for anything that I recover that they paid for out in medical bills.
Listen to me. If what you're telling me is that your insurance covered the medical bills,
Yes.
that's what you're supposed to tell me.
Yes, they covered $300. I have a $200 deductible. and I have to reimburse them for any...
I understood what you just said to me, sir, and I think that you're a very smart man, a little passive-aggressive, but a smart man. So is what you're telling me that you had to pay $200
Yes.
because that's your deductible. Let me see the check for $200.
I don't have a check.
Well, did you pay it?
I paid $110 of it.
Show
I owe
me.
$94. I
Show
don't
me.
have it.
Well, that's too bad. So your wife owes you $900. That's your wages for the 3 days you were out of work. Mr. Terry, put your hand down. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $900. That's all.
Kenneth Kip Panett claims former friend Stacy Schwartz took his car without permission and damaged it. Kenneth says Stacy not only ruined the transmission and clutch, but she also popped one of his tires.
Mr. Panett, you were at a party with the defendant. I assume she was a friend of yours, and it is your claim that she took your car without permission and wrecked it.
She didn't wreck it. She hit a curb and blew out a tire, and the transmission went out.
And Ms. Schwartz says that she had an unfortunate accident and that she might clearly be responsible for replacing a tire, but certainly not the transmission, since she had your permission and this accident was clearly not her fault.
Well, she did not have my permission.
Good. So let's go back. When was this party that you had?
A couple of months ago. It was a Friday night. It was at my house, and
Listen, Mr. Panett, how old are you, sir?
23.
What do you do for a living?
I am a market analyst.
Ever been to court before, sir?
No, except for traffic tickets and...
Well, that's court. So, if you're a plaintiff and you have a claim, first thing you figure out is what date.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because the questions get harder after that, Mr. Panett. So, a couple of months ago on a Friday night isn't a date.
I believe the date was December 14th, Your Honor.
That's a date. Now, it was on December 14th, 2006. Where were you?
At my house.
Who else was there?
I don't know the exact names, but a bunch of my friends.
And what were you all doing?
Drinking, watching TV, listening to music.
Great. Having a good time. Being responsible.
Yes.
What happened next?
Well, I didn't keep track of everybody around that night. I went to bed maybe around 1 or 2, and the next morning, Stacy called me and said that my car was broken down. I said, you know, how could that be? It should be in front of my house. And she said she was in Sunrise, which is about 20 miles away.
Where do you live?
Downtown Sacramento.
Go ahead.
She said it was broken down. She explained to me that she had taken my car the night before and that it had broken down the night before and that she had spent the night and was calling me in the morning. And I was...
Spent the night where?
At one of her friend's house, I assume.
Okay.
And I explained to her that she had better get my car back to me.
What kind of car do you have?
It's a Nissan Sentra.
Year?
1997. And she said she would. We exchanged words. I was a little upset, and then I fell back asleep. I didn't get my car back until the next day. She had it towed back to my house. At first, she hadn't even told me that a tire had blown out. I did see that for myself when it came to my house. Then she explained that to me. I had not given her permission to drive the car, so I was very upset.
Okay. Don't repeat anything.
Okay.
I have other things to do. Are you finished?
She had told me that she would pay for all damages. She was very apologetic at first, and I had it diagnosed, and she refused to pay it. She says she's not responsible for that.
You had it diagnosed. What was the bill?
It was $1,500, not $1,593.83. I'd originally said $1,600. It's I'd rounded when I looked at the receipt. It's actually $6.17 less than that.
Mr. Panett, how did you pay for this?
My father loaned me the money to pay for it, actually.
Did you pay for it in check or cash, sir?
I believe my father used his credit card to pay for it, and I had to pay my father back.
What's your father's name?
John Panett.
His phone number?
It's in my cell phone. I'm sorry.
Fred, would you please get his cell phone so that we can get the father's number, please? Thank you. And he's going to verify that he paid this bill, sir?
Yes,
when I
he
call
would.
him on the phone? Good. We're going to do that.
Okay.
In a minute.
Okay.
Now, I'll hear you, Miss Schwartz.
On December 14th, I was hanging out at Kip's house, and I asked him if I could borrow his car to go over to Jessica's house.
Where does Jessica live?
A few blocks from his house.
And he said?
He said yes. He let me borrow it.
Good. So you understand, Miss Schwartz,
That's a different place than she was. Excuse me, Your Honor.
You do understand, madam, that you did have limited authority to take his car to go to Jessica's house, which is a few blocks away. You understand that?
Yes. Yeah.
Now tell me what happened.
I drove over to Jessica's house and told her that I was using Kip's car. And she called me at 5 o'clock in the morning and woke me up.
At Jessica's house?
Yes. And told me she was drunk and stranded in Sunrise. So I didn't even think to call Kip and ask permission because he let me borrow his car. He knew I wasn't...
No, my dear.
He knew I wasn't going to bring it back until the morning. So I...
Darling!
Yes.
You get it now? You look as if you're smart enough to get where I'm going.
Yes, ma'am.
You went to pick up your friend in Sunrise. And
yes.
How far is Sunrise from Jessica's house?
Approximately 20 miles.
20?
Miles.
Miles, not blocks. Miles. And it was coming back with her, this drunken friend of yours, that you had the accident.
Yes.
Now tell me about the accident.
I was just driving and I was coasting, so I was in neutral. And then I tried to put it into gear and it would not go into gear. And I went to park immediately and I hit the curb and popped the tire. That was probably about 5:30, 6 o'clock.
You must have hit the curb very hard.
Well, yes, it was hard enough to pop the tire. And I immediately changed the tire. And since it was about 5:30 in the morning, my friend that I picked up just walked to her house because we were about a block away. And I slept in the car and called Kip about 9 o'clock in the morning to tell him that I was going to get his car towed back to him.
Let us assume that I believe you, that Mr. Panett said that you could borrow his car to go to Jessica's house, which is a few blocks away, to stay over. When you exceeded his permission by going 20 miles away the next day, you no longer had his permission. Do you understand that?
But he knew I was going to have it till the morning.
Don't tell me what he knew. He gave you permission, according to you, to drive it a few blocks. A few blocks is not 20 miles.
I have my witness here that saw him give me permission.
I just said, don't you have your listening ears on? I said, if I believe you, he gave you permission to take it a few blocks away. Once you took it 20 miles away, you no longer had permission.
Your Honor, he lets me borrow the car all the time.
That's not true.
Just a second. Where do you think you are?
Right here.
Where is here?
In this witness chair.
And until you stand up there, what are you supposed to do?
Listen to you.
Right. Once you exceeded the scope of the permission, you no longer had permission. That's the law. Do you understand it?
Yes.
So all I have to do is deal with the issue of damages. And for that, you're going to give me John's cell phone.
Yes, ma'am. Just let me power it up.
Power it up. John Panett, this is Judge Judy Scheindlin. How are you? I'm very well, thank you. Do you have a moment for just a couple of quick questions for me? I'm here, as you know, trying a case involving your son and this young woman who took his car without permission. Are you familiar with that? Okay. Did he ever ask you for any money to help him repair this car? When was that? 3 months ago. Do you remember how much it cost you, sir? Approximately. And did you use your credit card? Did he pay you back that money? I know, I have children. Did he tell you how it happened? That he needed a new transmission? Was he driving the car? Okay. Very good. And you used a credit card? Okay, great. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate you taking the time. Bye-bye now. What a nice father you have, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And as a matter of fact, your father does remember helping you out and paying for this transmission a few months ago.
That's correct.
Do you know what he doesn't remember?
What?
He doesn't remember you paying him back.
Well, I owe him money pretty much all the time, and I am always paying him. So I'm in the process
that he
of
doesn't
paying him.
remember. I mean, he does remember laying this money out for you, but he doesn't remember the fact that you paid him.
I have not fully paid him back, Your Honor. I apologize.
Well, how much have you paid him, sir?
Well, I owe him a total of quite a bit more than that, so I guess if you got down to that bill, I haven't paid him any because I'm paying him for things that I owe him.
Well, you have no objection to making the check payable to your father, do you?
No, not at all.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,593.83 to be made payable to John Panett. Thank you very much. That's all.
26-year-old Jamie Martin is suing her former live-in boyfriend, 25-year-old Thomas Say, for a loan to pay his child support. Thomas claims Jamie gave him the money out of kindness.
Miss Martin, according to what I read, you met the defendant on the internet, you started dating him, he needed some money because he was behind in his child support, you made a loan to him for his child support, and he has to pay you back.
Correct.
Mr. Say acknowledges or says that you gave him money to pay off his child support obligation, but that it was a gift and a nice gesture. That's your defense.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. When did you meet him?
In August of last year.
And when did he tell you he had a problem with his child support?
Probably around October.
Had he borrowed money before that?
No, but he was living in my house.
He was?
Yes.
When did he move in?
Probably in September.
Met him in August, moved in September?
Yeah, bad choice.
Bad choice, very bad choice. You work?
I'm a part-time cashier.
What do you do for the rest of the time?
Oh, nothing. I'm trying to go full-time.
How do you support yourself?
With my job.
As a part-time cashier, who pays your rent?
I have a mortgage. I pay myself.
What's your mortgage?
$530.
Do you have any other source of income?
I sold a house in Florida. I still have a little bit of money left from that.
You're living in California?
No, South Carolina.
What prompted you to move from Florida to South Carolina?
My parents moved up there and they gave me some land.
Parents subsidize you?
Meaning?
Give you money?
No.
How much do you make from being a part-time cashier?
$8.
Where did you get the $3,000 from that you loaned to him?
When I sold my house in Florida, I had money in the bank that I was saving.
Show me that you withdrew $3,000 and gave it to me. When was he supposed to pay you back?
It was supposed to be an every month payment, no less than $100.
And when did you stop seeing him?
I kicked him out of the house in November.
Why?
Because he was getting to the point where all he wanted to do was go drinking and not coming home at night, so I decided I didn't want to put up with that.
Perfect. Sounds like a plan.
Yep.
How many children do you have, Mr. Say?
1.
How old?
2.
And where does that child live?
With me and my wife. She didn't kick me out. I was separated. And when I went back to my wife, I left her.
Okay.
That's when all this came to the head.
Fine. But she gave you money for child support.
Yes.
Why were you behind in your child support payments?
It was based on income that I wasn't making any longer.
Because you can't hold a job. Listen, Ms. Martin.
I'm sorry. They based the money that I was making when the child support was set up was based on about $70,000 to $75,000 a year. I was making about half of that. Every month when I would send money, it fell further and further behind. We were supposed to revisit the issue in November. However, right before the court came, that's when she gave me $3,000. It was a gift.
It's your kid!
Yes, ma'am.
You idiot! It's not hers. If you fall behind in your child support, you pay for it. That's what it is. It's for a parent to pay child support. What's wrong with you? Don't you have any pride at all?
Yes, ma'am.
Where is it? Show me. Where is it?
I left it at the house.
Right. I don't think you're adorable, sir. She may have found you marginally attractive when she allowed you to move into her house for some bizarre reason. I have to tell you, whatever it is that you think you have, it eludes me.
I'm
It
sorry, Your
eludes
Honor.
me,
I'm
sir.
sorry, Your Honor.
It eludes me. You know, there are acts sometimes of sheer desperation that bring people together. You are one of those sheer desperations. When you have an order for child support, you live up to your responsibility, and you do not rely on strangers to take care of it. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, why in the world your wife took you back, I have no clue. You have family that's living?
Yes.
They must have prayed very hard for her to take you back.
Must have.
It is not Miss Martin's obligation to support your kid, which is a boy or a girl.
Little girl.
Wonderful. I'm sure you absolutely adore her. Has Miss Martin ever met her?
No, ma'am.
Never even exchanged a meal with her? Why in the world do you think that she'd want to put bread on her table?
She offered it when I went. We were...
Well, he's going to answer me. He's going to answer this question. Rather than just accept his whooping, he is going to actually answer this question. Let me explain something to you, sir. Where do you come from?
South Carolina.
I do not find you adorable. I find nothing about you adorable. I think that you're an irresponsible fool. You owe her $3,000. Pay her. That's all.
Mamie Carter says her son's former friend, Michael Powell, damaged her home while she was on vacation. Mamie claims Michael threw parties the entire time she was gone.
Miss Carter, you hired the defendant to sit while you and your son went on a vacation. And according to your complaint, you came back and found your house trashed, some alcohol missing, and the place generally a disaster. How old are you, Mr. Powell?
I am 27 years old currently.
And what do you do for a living, sir?
Currently, I'm a waiter, and
what were you doing when you were engaged by Miss Carter?
Full-time college student, Your Honor.
Full-time college student at age 27?
I'm on the 10-year plan.
Where were you living?
I was living...
Why are you gazing up at the stars?
I'm sorry.
These are not hard questions, Mr.
I'm sorry,
Powell.
Your Honor.
These are not hard questions, sir.
I'm sorry. I live
Where
in
were you living at the time that you were retained by Miss Carter and you were a full-time college student on the 10-year plan?
I live in a duplex near downtown San Antonio.
With whom?
With a roommate of mine.
And who supports you? It's not an answer.
The state.
How does the state support you?
Student loans, Your Honor.
You've been getting 10 years worth of student loans?
No. That's why I've been in it for so long, because I've been working as well as going to school at certain points in time. So that's why I'm 27 and still in college.
How many credits do you have? So you don't mind if I go through this with him, do you? This
have a
is
good
fascinating.
time.
I'm going to have a good time. You know. Sometimes the job demands you have a good time. Sometimes.
I'm a little bit indecisive, Your Honor, so I've changed my major quite a few times, so probably I have accrued close to 160 hours in school.
What do you want to be when you grow up, Mr. Powell? Where does your family live, Mr. Powell?
They live in San Antonio, Texas.
Is that where you come from?
Yes, born and raised.
Are you friendly with your parents?
Yes, very much so.
Did they give you money?
When times are rough, yes.
Well, if you're 27 years old and unemployed, sir, couldn't get rougher than that.
I'm a waiter, Your Honor. I'm a waiter.
Full-time waiter or a part-time waiter? I'm going to find out where you're a full-time waiter, if you are a full-time waiter.
No, I'm not a full-time waiter, Your Honor.
All right, so a part-time waiter
30
doesn't support a duplex, Mr. Powell.
It's cheap rent.
Didn't think that this would happen to you, did you? All right, enough. Miss Carter, which one of these two gentlemen is your son?
He is the one in...
That one, in the suit?
In the suit.
And they were friends?
Yes, they were friends since 1997.
All right. Stand up for a second. Your name?
Curtis Carter?
Curtis, where do you live? With your mother?
No, I have my own residence in San Antonio.
Perfect. Who supports the residence?
I do.
What do you do for a living?
I'm an investment broker.
Very nice. Did you buy that suit all by yourself?
She helped me out.
Who paid for it?
Gosh, my mother did.
Gosh. What?
Gosh.
Ouch. Gosh. My mother did. Do you make a living?
Yes.
Okay. And you've known Mr. Powell for about 10 years?
Approximately.
Where do you know him from?
We went to high school together, and we have all kinds of friends in common.
You know he's a little flaky.
Well, he hasn't always been.
He is now. Did you recommend Mr. Powell to your mother as a house sitter?
I did.
But we had previously hired him, Your Honor, on a previous occasion, and we got along without difficulty.
How many days did he house sit on the previous occasion?
Maybe a week.
And he lived at your house?
That's correct.
How long ago?
4 years ago.
And 4 years ago, Miss Carter, was he a college student?
Yes, he was.
4 years later, he's still a college student.
That's right.
You should have said to yourself, something's not right there. Now, you hired him when, the second time?
I hired him February 24th of this year.
How long were you going to be away?
We went away from March 1 through the 24th of this year.
And how many animals do you...
1 dog and 1 tropical fish.
Okay. And he was to take care of the dog, the fish, the house.
That's right.
Okay. When you came home on the 24th, did you take photos of the house?
We took photos of the damage the next day or so.
I'd like to see the photos. Are you an otherwise neat person?
Not particularly.
Now, where was this brick wall?
The brick wall is outside my kitchen. Somehow, it was knocked into the driveway. A 4-foot section of it was knocked in.
Your Honor, I mean, it wasn't a 4-foot section. It was maybe more like 2 to 2.5 feet. It was about 15. I know because I bought the bricks. There was...
I want you to tell me, Mr. Powell, how the brick wall fell down.
All I can really tell you is I believe it was because she lives in Almas Park, which is also a basin. It floods there a lot.
Just a second, did it flood the 3 weeks that she was gone?
No, Your Honor.
And we are not in the floodplain.
Just, you have to give him a chance, Miss Carter. Don't interrupt him.
Either way,
Were you leaning against it?
I was leaning against it, indeed.
You were leaning
yes.
against it when it fell over?
When it started to tremor, and then, boom, fell down about close to 15 feet into the driveway.
But I also have leaned against it.
I told you, don't interrupt him. So you were leaning against the brick wall and it fell over into the driveway?
Indeed.
And you tried to fix it?
Indeed. Indeed, I did.
Did you fix it?
To the best of my ability, I had my friend over here, Jason, and his brother-in-law, who does construction and mason
For over
work.
27 years.
Helped to put the brick wall back together again. And I even planted flowers in the flower pots because I felt bad about the whole situation. So.
On what date, Mr. Powell, did the brick wall fall down?
Well, I'm basing this on the plaintiff's statement. She said I got it on
I don't want you.
Well, it's
the
been so long.
plaintiff is in Africa, on the plains.
Okay.
You are on her brick wall.
Okay.
So you tell me what date. Let's go back a second,
Okay.
Mr. Powell. You're 27 years old.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're a 10-year veteran of college.
Yes, Your Honor.
How many brick walls in your life have fallen down when you were leaning against them?
None since that one, Your Honor.
Before this one? Any before?
No.
So that would be an event that you would remember. Now,
Indeed.
on what date did the brick wall fall down?
February the 27th.
That would be before she left.
Oh, I thought she said she left the February the 25th. See, this is the problem here, Your Honor. It's been so long since the whole incident has occurred. I really don't, dates are kind of a problem for me to recollect at the time.
Life is a problem for you, Mr. Powell. Now, when did you have the first social gathering at her house?
Well, I had a few social gatherings. They were spread out, you know. She said I could have a few people over, several people over. She said there wasn't a problem with that. So I did have friends over.
That's not true.
Don't do it again. Otherwise, I'll say goodbye to you. And you don't want that to happen.
No, I don't.
How many times did you have social gatherings in the 3 weeks that you were house sitting?
3 weeks I was house sitting, probably 6, 7 times.
And give me a range of number of people that you had at the house when you had these social gatherings.
The most at one time would be 5, including myself.
Were you always inside or did you go outside?
We went outside.
When you went outside, what did you do outside?
Smoke cigarettes.
How many bottles of Miss Carter's alcohol did you consume?
I believe her statement was 2 bottles of wine.
If you don't know, say, I don't know, I don't remember, or I drank 2 bottles.
2 bottles of wine. And a little bit of Chivas Regal that she had there. Not the whole bottle,
Now,
which she claims.
The alcohol was in the bar?
It's actually in the kitchen. It's in a little drawer.
A bottle of Chivas Regal doesn't fit in a little drawer.
Well, there's plenty of cabinets in her kitchen.
So it's in a cabinet, not a little drawer.
A cabinet.
Did she have food in her refrigerator?
She had a little bit of food in her refrigerator. She also had a pantry that was well stocked with soups and the like.
Did you partake?
Yes, because that was part of the plan. She offered to let me eat and drink, so I did. I didn't have a lot of money at the time.
Were you supposed to get paid for watching the house?
Yes. I believe the agreement was $10 a day for 25 days, and I was supposed to receive $250. Which I never received. I mean, she wouldn't answer back my phone calls after the first day, so I had to get an attorney because through my circle of friends...
You got an attorney?
Yeah, because I heard... Well,
you hired an attorney?
Yes, because we share... Kurt and I share... Her son share the same friends. And so you hear a lot of rumors and hearsay, and I was hearing she was bringing detectives into the house and doing all this, meticulous research, and I felt like my best bet would be to get an attorney.
How much did you pay the attorney?
$150 to send her a letter.
What you're telling me, sir, is you paid an attorney $150 to get you $250.
Also, just to communicate, because she was not at that point in time was not communicating with me. So I could not...
Just answer my question. You paid an attorney $150 to send her a letter to get your pay of $250.
Also to say that if there's any kind of damage as far as the brick wall is concerned, if it was a problem, me drinking the bottles of wine, you know, no big deal. Take it out of the $250. But then when I serve the papers, I see this long list of these,
How did the banister, this wooden banister,
which was broken
get broken?
when I got there.
Shh. The wooden banister was broken when you got there?
Yes.
Split in two?
It was split in two.
Is that right?
Yes, it was split in two, but it was not split in two prior to my leaving on the trip.
No, just a second. That's what I'm saying to you. Was the banister split in two when he came?
Yes.
Shh. Was the banister broken before he came to house sit?
No.
Well, you have to listen to my question. When you came home, how did you find your pets?
My dog was in good condition.
Good. Well, at least he did something right. What about the fish?
The fish was still living.
Also, a blessing.
Yes, I agree.
Good. Now, there was a painting that you talk about, that you have a picture of, that had a hole in it. Tell me about the painting.
This painting is of a relative of mine.
It's a great painting, by the way.
Thank you. It's a village blacksmith. It's a family heirloom.
Tell me about the damage to the
painting.
painting.
It is museum quality, and I discovered that it has a puncture and a rip or a tear in it, and the heavy gold relief frame had been broken off and damaged in it.
Was it hanging on the wall when you came home?
Yes.
But hanging on the wall damaged?
Yes.
Had it been damaged before Mr. Powell started to babysit for your house?
Not at all.
You. Nice suit.
Thank you.
Could you step up, sir? What is your name?
Barton Simpson.
Mr. Simpson, you're a neighbor of the Carters?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what happened in the household while Mrs. Carter and her son were in Africa.
The first thing I noticed was the defendant's red car, because Miss Carter's car was gone, and it had the writing of a wax on it that would be indicative of the police impound lot in San Antonio. As time went by, the flowers started dying on the terrace and trash started piling up on the terrace. And then as more time went on, I started seeing Miss Carter's treasured dog running around the neighborhood. So I started making an effort to catch the dog and bring it back to the backyard. On the third occasion...
You mean the third occasion that the dog was...
The third occasion that the dog was running around the neighborhood, I took the dog home to find that the terrace door was wide open.
Okay. Did you go inside?
I looked in the door, I knocked on the door, I yelled for somebody inside. When I looked in the door, I noticed the back door was also wide open. So I walked in the house to release the dog into the house. I walked in to close the back door. The first thing I noticed was it looked like there had been an ongoing fraternity party in the house. There were electric guitars up on the couch, the tables were covered with booze, the ashtrays were overflowing with cigarettes and what looked like to me the burnt ends of reefer cigarettes in the ashtrays. It looked like there had been an ongoing mosh pit fraternity party, and there was a cat in the house and dog feces on the floor.
Thank you, sir.
He came by once to tell me that the dog was wandering around the neighborhood, and I didn't know who he was because I had never met him.
Mr. Powell, let me tell you that Mr. Simpson just related to me something that I believe, that he went into the house when you were not at home to return the dog to the house. You were not there. He described the inside of the house. That's all I want you to address, sir.
The inside of the house.
Yes. And I want you to bear in mind that I believe him.
Okay, I understand that. Well, when he came over to the house, if he saw beer cans, there were probably some beer cans. But that doesn't mean I drank her liquor or drank all this wine. I mean, there wasn't wine bottles. There was just empty beer cans, which I picked up, threw away,
What about the dog feces that were there? Did you clean up?
That I cannot, no. There were no dog feces. This
well, no.
dog
I want
is
you to bear in
14
mind.
years old,
I want you to bear in mind that I believe
him. Okay.
So if you didn't clean it up, it was there when she arrived home.
No, Your Honor. It was not there.
Well, then somebody cleaned it up.
I cleaned it up. If anything happened...
Oh, just a second. Well, you just said you didn't.
I was saying that I didn't his testimony is I don't agree with his testimony, even though you do.
Listen to me. I don't care whether you do or not.
The dog's 14 years old.
I'm telling you
that I believe him. So if the dog messed in the house and you didn't clean it up, which is what you said at first, that means that she found it when she came home, unless you had Cinderella come and take care of the house at some point.
Your Honor, I took grounds to try to repair her brick wall. I tried to do as much cleaning as I could with the time that I had. Like she says, she's not exactly the most cleanest person in the first place. The house is very messy to begin with.
Who smokes? Do you?
I smoke cigarettes, yes I do.
Do you, Miss Carter?
No, Your Honor.
Who else lives in the house with you?
No one.
Cigarette ashtrays were brought from outside into the inside.
Oh,
that's why.
So unusual. People usually do just the opposite. Maybe when you graduate, you'll start doing it the other way. Most people take cigarettes and take them outside. So what you're telling me is you and your friends had cigarette smoke outside and all the dirty, disgusting cigarette butts, when you've finished smoking outside so you shouldn't smell the house, you brought them back inside.
They were cleaned and gathered in a pile, Your Honor.
Not just, you mean the cigarette butts were cleaned and gathered in a pile?
Let's call it an organized mess. Put everything together, throw it away, put it into the trash can, and take it out.
But it hadn't been thrown away, sir, because he came and he found it there.
At that particular date.
All right, I had enough. Miss Carter, listen to me. How much did it cost you to fix the painting?
About $1,000.
No, show me the bill. Come on, see the bill. I finished torturing Mr. Powell. Finished torturing him. You big slob, Mr. Powell. You took advantage of the situation. Make parties in your own condo. Don't make parties in somebody else's house. It's outrageous to treat somebody else's house with such disrespect. 27 years old. Your parents should be very proud of you. Very, very proud of you.
No
You're on the
damage done to her
speaking.
painting.
You're on a 10-year plan. You'll never grow up. As long as somebody else is footing the bill, you're going to continue to be a big baby. How much did it cost you to clean up the house and to do any of the brickwork on the house?
The brickwork cost $1,285.
Clean up on the house.
I had a maid service for $40.
All right. How much did it cost you to fix the banister?
$135.
All right, it's $3,460. You better start waiting on a lot more tables and working a lot more than 30 hours a week. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, Your Honor.
Goodbye.
Melanie Clegg claims ex-boyfriend Newell Olmsted owes for rent and a television. Newell claims he's already paid his debt.
Mr. Olmsted, the plaintiff indicates in her complaint that you purchased a television set while the two of you were together, and you lived together for a period of time. You separated, and Ms. Clegg indicates that you separated because she found out some things that she didn't know about you. Does that be a fair statement? Mm-hmm. You have the television set. The payments for that television set was still outstanding when she left. It was some $1,200 left.
It was $1,257.
And on whose credit was it purchased?
Mine.
You got the TV.
Yes, ma'am.
You want the TV?
It's my TV, yeah.
It's not your TV unless you pay for it.
I did pay for it.
Show me.
What
date did you separate?
We separated in December.
December 2009.
2008.
Okay. After December of 2008, she says that when you separated, there was $1,257 still owing.
There was only $1,000 owed on it, and I transferred that money into her account in January. 2 transactions from my account to her account for $500 each a transaction. She didn't pay it off in time. Then the interest kicked in. There's 2 transactions. There's one on the first day. There's actually 3 transactions to her account equaling $1,500. The third one was for a credit card that she said I owed her $500 on, so I paid that as well.
Okay, explain that to me.
He did transfer money into my account. It was for a credit card that he had on my name because he didn't have good credit, so he could not get any credit in his name.
Well, how much was owed on the credit card at the time?
There was $400. The balance was $1,000. There's $400 charge, and it says on her attorneys for his divorce. And he also owed me for his child's dentist that I was paying, which I have proof here also that I was paying.
I'm not getting so involved in this complicated case. You understand that?
Yes.
And I want to know how much was owed on this credit card when you separated in December.
$1,062.
Take a look at this, sir.
All that one is the $400.
The only thing on this that I owe was $400, and I paid her $500.
$400 for?
She paid my retainer for my attorney for my divorce with this credit card, okay?
How much?
She paid $400.
Yes.
I paid her $500 for the interest. So I transferred $500. There's 3 transactions there of $500 apiece.
And so what you're telling me is none of those other transactions on that credit card are yours?
I mean, no.
Look carefully.
That's only 1 month statement.
That's dinner.
I wasn't trying to get for that credit card. I was just saying that some of it.
She asked me.
No. Listen to me, Miss Clegg, very carefully. I see he transferred $1,500 to you at the end of December and the beginning of January.
$1,500?
Yeah. 3 payments of $500, 2 on January 7th and 1 on January 21st.
I did not get those transactions.
Those are my bank records from my bank account to her bank account. So I don't know how she couldn't have got them.
Miss Clegg, I just need your checking account for the months of December and January.
Here we go.
December 2008, January 2009.
Do you want the withdrawals or just the deposits that he had given me?
The statement. You should have it. Transfer from. I have 1 January 7th for $500 that she did, in fact, get. There is only 1 on January 7th for $500, sir, not 2.
Oh, you know, as Clegg L, that's a different account. I transferred that because she said that she needed to put it into a savings account. So
just a second. You have 2 that you've outlined on January 7th, both to Clegg M.
Okay.
She only received 1, but they're 2 different numbers. Hold on a second.
Yeah, there's 2 bank accounts. I mean, one of them was savings.
Whoa. Wait a second. How many different bank accounts do you have?
I have 2 savings, and I have 1, which the L is my mother.
That's where you told me to transfer
No. I have are 2 different savings account numbers.
Yes, I do. I have 2 accounts. I have
2
that's
different
my
savings
mom's, and
accounts.
I have 2 other savings accounts.
Show me those 2 savings accounts.
I can show you on the internet. I don't have anything with that.
Don't show me on the internet.
Yeah, there's nothing. I have nothing.
Well, then you take a look at these.
Okay. Yeah, Clegg L is my mother, not me.
I just put it in the account she told me to put it in.
You owe my mother money.
Oh, now I owe her mother money.
Nope. I believe you. Mr. Olmsted.
Yes, ma'am.
I see where you gave her $1,500. She says she only received 1 payment of $500. That's a lie.
Yes, ma'am.
She received 3 payments of $500. 2 went into her savings accounts and 1 went into her checking account.
Yes, ma'am.
So I don't believe that he only gave you 1 payment of $500. Now,
One of the Clegg L is my mom.
I don't care.
But that goes towards the TV?
His defense is that he gave you money after he moved out. Some of it was for his credit card, for his lawyer, and some of it was for the TV, $1,000 for the TV, which at that time, that's what was owed on the TV, which he paid for. He said the fact that you didn't make the payment on it and it went up to $1,200 is not his problem. If I believe him, then he doesn't owe you any money for the TV.
I put $1,000 down on that TV, too, which I have proof of.
I don't care. TV, listen to me. All I'm concerned about is whether when you moved out there was any money due and owing on the television that he kept. And there was.
Yes.
And I find that he paid you for it. Now, the next thing I'm going to go over with you, what you say you loaned him for rent.
Yes.
Now I'll hear what you say you loaned him for rent. After you broke up, after you moved out, go.
I paid $2,600 to rent. He came to me in January of '09 and asked me if I could help him because he could not afford it and it would not look good in his divorce if he didn't have a place to stay. So I paid in January 2nd, I believe it is, I paid $995, which he was planning on paying me after his divorce. And
just a minute. Put your hand down. I saw it. Didn't you see me looking at you?
Well, I'm just making sure you saw me.
I couldn't miss it. Now, first show me proof that you gave him $2,600.
Okay. Here's that 1, 2, 3.
Don't give him anything. What are you showing me here?
The withdrawals out of the account were the rent for his house. That's a Wells Fargo account. It goes into a Bank of America account. And I had cash so that it wasn't the exact same amount every single month because I was...
Did she give you any money towards rent?
She didn't give me any money. She paid, I mean, yes, she did go pay the rent for us.
When?
January, February, March. But she received half the rent from him, so I don't know why she pulled out $900.
Shh. January, February, March. Now, she was not living with you then.
No, she moved out in December. Just stuck us with everything. Just moved out.
And who were you living with at that time?
He moved in, or he decided to stay to help me with the rent since she moved out.
Was this apartment in both your names or just your name?
It was just in my name, but we lived there together, yes.
Did you move in together or did she move in?
Yes. We moved in together in December of 08, and she moved out in December of 08.
Where had you been living before?
We had a house that we rented. We wanted to get into a cheaper place, so we got into a place that was $300 less a month.
When you lived in the house, were you sharing expenses?
Yes.
And why did you move out in December?
Because he was with my sister's best friend.
Okay, well, that's a very good reason to leave.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Even if she thinks it, it's a very good reason to leave.
It is true, but the reason we split up is because she cheated on me.
I don't care.
So.
Actually, that's for another program, another time slot, not mine.
Okay.
I don't actually care about that. All I want to know is she moved out, the lease is in solely your name.
Yes.
And would you tell me why she paid any of the rent for January, February, and March?
She was helping me out, like she said. You know, I didn't have...
She was helping you?
Yes.
Why, if she was furious with you, because that's what she says, she was furious with you.
I didn't say she was furious.
Why? She says.
She says she's furious. I didn't. Why?
No. Listen to me. Hey.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Why would somebody who is furious with you, she says she was furious with you, give you money?
That baffles me.
I wouldn't give you a penny.
I wouldn't either.
She found out about him being together with her friend.
Listen, go get your 15 minutes someplace else, but don't shout out here.
I'm not trying to get 15 minutes. I'm just trying to state facts.
I don't want you to state anything unless I ask you to.
I raised my hand earlier and I didn't get a turn.
Excuse me.
But tell him not to go far in case I need him.
Will do.
I'm pretty sure we'll need him.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Just as long as she knows that he's here. The gentleman, Motormouth, who was here a moment ago, did he give you any money?
No.
Towards rent?
He gave me $0.
You never got any money from him?
From him, no. If it came from his account, I don't know where the money came from.
Did you get any money?
That $500 that I put on there that says Tim's half of rent on that page, yes, that's the $500 of Tim's half of rent.
Who is Tim?
Motormouth.
Motormouth.
Yes.
Okay, so you got that money.
That's it.
Well, that's what I'm asking you. So you got $500 of the 26 that you gave him, which means you're out $2,100.
If that's what, can I ask you something?
You're out $2,100.
Can I ask you something? Is that going towards the TV?
Forget the TV. The TV's over. I've already made a judgment on the
but
TV.
if you're accounting that $500 transferred from his account that you see out of Newell Olmstead's account into my account, the $500.
I thought it was from him.
It's out of Newell Olmstead's account.
Oh, well, you can't use that same $500, Mr. Olmsted, 10 times.
I'm not.
You can only use it once.
Tim gave her...
Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Listen to me. You might be a very, very nice man and have many redeeming qualities. You're not George Clooney. Nobody who's not living with you, sir, is going to pay $2,600 for your rent. Not somebody that looks like that. Do you understand? Take a good look. Somebody that looks like that is not going to pay $2,600 for your rent after she's already broken up with you.
I agree.
But that's what she did.
No, she did not. Tim paid her $450. His part of the rent, he paid her. So that's not true. Yes, she helped
I don't
me.
believe that. And I don't believe Motormouth.
Okay.
I don't believe you should have had nothing to do with her. After you separated, you should have nothing to do with her. How come she gave you money? Did you call her and tell her that you needed money for rent?
I asked her to help me with rent. Yes,
Good. You owe her $2,600. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's it.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Lori Abarca says former client Matthew Finch pulled his kids out of her daycare without notice. Matthew is countersuing, claiming Lori made a false CPS report.
Mrs. Abarca, this is a pretty nasty case. According to your complaint, the defendant is the former husband of your best friend.
Yes.
What's your former wife's name?
Stacy.
Stacy. And they have 2 children. And you were providing daycare in your home for their 2 children.
Correct.
And subsequent to their separation, you took care of the children for how long?
Approximately 9 months, from August of 2004 until April 1st of 2005.
And then it is your claim that Mr. Finch, without cause, removed the children from your daycare. He did, in fact, give you 2 weeks' notice and paid you, according to what I've read here, for the 2 weeks' notice.
Yes.
That's correct.
But your claim is that Mr. Finch knew that he had an obligation to keep the children there, so you want him to pay for daycare for how long?
I just want him to pay for daycare up until the date that their mother gave me the 2 weeks notice, because she was the only one that was able to make the daycare decision per their court order.
Just shh. Don't. Okay. On what date did she give you the 2 weeks notice?
I believe it was May 12th.
Okay. So let's deal with that part of the complaint first.
Okay.
You'll get into the incident because there's much more to this case than these few weeks. When Mr. Finch gave you the 2 weeks notice on April 1st and tendered payment for those 2 weeks, did you take his payment?
Yes.
So then let us deal with this issue swiftly.
Okay.
You're entitled to nothing. If you said to Mr. Finch, I'm not taking your money, it is my friend who is responsible for giving me the 2 weeks notice, not you, I would go on with that part of your lawsuit. But since you took his money, I'm not entertaining any money for April or 2 weeks in May. Now let's move on to the next part of your claim. The next part of your claim is that there was an incident on or about April 1st involving your husband and the defendant. And as a result of that, Mr. Finch called the state licensing board and made false allegations against you. Mr. Finch said what he reported to the state licensing board was true, correct?
That's correct.
The counterclaim that I have by Mr. Finch is that you called Child Protective Services complaining about Mr. Finch and alleging that he in some way inappropriately touched one or both of his children. That's the allegation.
Right.
So, did you in fact call Child Protective Services?
I did.
On what date?
April 4th.
And what did you tell them in this 4-4 report?
I told them that his oldest daughter, Kiana, for the last month and a half had been reacting extremely badly when he would come to pick her up. She would start crying hysterically. She would run to the background, anybody, my children, my husband, myself, that she could get to.
Is that what you told the state so far?
Yes.
What else did you tell them?
And I told them that I felt that there was something going on at the house. I didn't know what, but I know that somebody needed to investigate it. When I did make that phone call, Stacy was right beside me, in full agreement with me calling, because for several weeks before...
Don't tell me about Stacy.
Okay. For several weeks before, I had spoken to Stacy and Matt about Kiana's behavior. It would be so bad at times that he would come to pick up both of the girls and have to leave with just Lexi, the little one, and leave Kiana at my home until her mother or her stepfather could come and pick her up because she wouldn't go with him.
Doesn't...
Shh.
Okay.
So I confronted Stacy about what was going on and told her that I was very uncomfortable with the way that Kiana was reacting and that I was very concerned that something was happening over at his house.
No, she doesn't include that.
This revelation, Ms. Abarca, that you had to call and make a substantive report to Child Protective Services did not occur until after Mr. Finch removed the children from your daycare. Is that correct?
Yes and no.
Yeah. The first time that you called and made a substantive report, despite what you say you had been seeing for the last month and a half, is 3 days after he removed the children from your daycare.
Yes.
There's certain hard data, and then there's certain soft data. Your conversations with your friend Stacy is soft data. The timing of these events is hard data, which in my view very often suggests that you can make a leap with regard to things like motive. You get me?
Yes.
Good. Now, did you subsequently go to the family court with regard to her allegations of abuse?
Yes, I did.
And was there a hearing?
There was a hearing.
And subsequent to the hearing, was your time with your children diminished, supervised, increased?
Stayed the same. We were sent to family court counseling after that.
Who was?
Me and my ex-wife.
Just the two of you?
Correct.
And did you both go to counseling?
I requested private mediation. I figured 1 hour with the family court services was not efficient time to handle this situation, and therefore I was granted time to get a private mediation.
And as a result of the mediation, what happened?
My time was increased.
To what?
To 50%.
It had been previous to that, how much?
It was only 37% time.
Subsequent to the call to Child Protective Services, was your daughter subjected to a physical examination?
Yes, both daughters were. And I do have the report here.
Can I see it,
Would you like to
please?
see it? For both daughters.
Their mother requested it when she took them for those exams. It wasn't
CPS
court ordered.
requested
It wasn't court ordered or anything through CPS. Stacy called and made those appointments.
Listen to me, madam. What you're giving me is hearsay. The objective data is you made a report. As a result of that report and subsequent to that report, these children were subjected to physical examinations. That was precipitated by your call. And if their mother had seen signs that she felt were untoward, she could have taken the children without your call to Child Protective Services. Your call to Child Protective Services inspired this action. Now I want to know what happened April 1st.
Okay. April 1st, Matt calls me probably around 5 o'clock, letting me know that he's on his way to pick up the girls.
And how many days a week had he picked up the children?
He picked them up at least 85% of the 9 months that they were with me, because their mother would work nights and evenings and stuff like that.
How old are your children?
They're 6 and 8 now.
So now he came to pick up the children on April 1st.
He had called me and let me know he was coming to get them. And,
As I do every day.
Listen, if you interrupt again, it's not going to go well for you. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So far, you don't feel as if I'm favoring her, do you?
Not at all.
Then keep your mouth shut until I look at you and ask you a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Go.
His phone call was that he wanted to change his payment dates on the way over. I said, no, we're not going to change them. They're in a contract. You've signed it. This is the way that it's been for 9 months. And he got very angry.
No, just a second. No. Did he tell you why he wanted to change his payment dates?
No, he didn't.
Okay. And you said, no, you can't.
Right.
If your friend Stacy had called and said, I would like to change the payment date, what would you have answered her?
I would have talked to her about it.
Right.
Which is what I tried to do with Matt.
No, that's not what you said. You said absolutely not.
Okay.
That's what you just told me.
Well,
I'm
you're
just
right.
repeating your words.
Well, no, actually, he called me and told me he wanted to change the payment dates.
And you just told me you said absolutely not. You have a contract.
And I said to him, well, your payment's due today. And he then told me that he wasn't going to pay me when he came to pick up the girls and got angry and started yelling at me. And I said to him, you know what, Matt, you have a contract with me. These are the same dates you've always made payment.
Continue.
Don't speak to her! And it's not your job to tell her to continue. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You keep saying, yes, ma'am. Is there something wrong with you? Do you have problem controlling yourself?
Not at all.
Well, it seems to me you do. Go ahead.
He got very hostile with me on the phone, yelling and screaming.
No,
so
you
I
were
said,
hostile.
Well, no.
You were hostile.
It was a reaction to him.
You know what the big mistake was?
What's that?
The big mistake was choosing you as a daycare provider. When you have a best friend who is divorcing her husband and there are bad feelings that exist between the two people, to have someone as a child care provider who is aligned with one of the parents is a monumental mistake. Monumental. Because you are emotionally invested in his ex-wife and her welfare, not emotionally invested in his welfare, and that comes through loud and clear. Having said that, we will move on. So he came to pick up the children, and what happened, Ms. Abarco, when he came to pick up the children?
When he came to pick up the kids, my husband went outside to go talk to him because we'd had many, many incidences with his youngest daughter, Lexi, being physically abusive to our son. And it was just...
This is the husband?
This is my husband.
What was he doing home?
He was already done working for the day.
What kind of work does he do?
He's a forklift mechanic for Toyota.
Let me understand this, Ms. Abarca. You sent him outside.
No.
You said you were inside with the girls, so your husband went outside to speak to him.
Right.
Well, you must have, when you got off the phone, said to your husband, he's coming over and he says he's not going to pay me. Got to discuss that with him. And you have to discuss with him his daughter's aggressive behavior right?
Yes, I spoke to him about the phone call with Matt and about the incident we had just had with Lexi and Cole on Matt's way over to come and pick up the girls.
Well, why don't you tell me about the incident between your son, who was how old?
At that time, he was 18 months old.
And the daughter, who was how old?
Lexi was 5 and a half.
So why don't you tell me about that incident?
I believe on that day, she pushed him down. She would pull his hair and pull him down. You know, just different little things like that that were constant. And I sat down with Lexi, and I said, you know, Lexi, we've been having a lot of problems with this kind of behavior. What is wrong? Why is it that you and Cole can't seem to get along? What can we do to change it? And she says to me that her father told her that if there's something she wants or Cole does something that she doesn't like, then she can basically take matters into her own hand. If she needs to push him away from her or do something like that, that's what he told her. The 8-year-old daughter, Kiana, was there as well. Kiana confirmed that was the discussion that they had in their vehicle, and also stated that there was a boy she was having problems with at school, and Matt told her that if he continued to bother her, she could go ahead and punch him.
Where were you when this was going on with the 5-year-old and your 18-month-old?
I was in my dining room.
And where were they?
They were in my living room, which there's a huge opening.
Shh. That's not supposed to happen. It's your responsibility if the 5-year-old pushes down the 18-month-old. It's your responsibility because you are providing inadequate supervision of the children. I don't care whether you agree or not.
Children are children.
That's absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. And a 5-year-old may push down an 18-month-old, and an 18-month-old may pull a 5-year-old's hair.
Right.
Or may take something away, and the 5-year-old says you can't do that.
Absolutely.
You just answered your own question.
Lori Abarca claims former client Matthew Finch owes for daycare fees, defamation of character, and a false police report.
Stand up. All right. Mr. Abarca, you tell me what you said to Mr. Finch when you went outside.
I walked up to Mr. Finch.
Look at me. You walked up to Mr. Finch and said...
He was still in his vehicle. I explained to him...
No, tell me what you said.
I said, Matt, there was a situation with the 2 kids. Lexi approached Cole, grabbed the ball from him, pushed it back into his chest, and then grabbed him by his hair and pulled him to the ground. When Lori confronted Lexi about it, Lexi explained that if she felt somebody was picking on her, it would be all right for her to go ahead and do something back, retaliate.
Okay. So your wife said to you that the little girl said, my daddy says it's somebody is picking on me, then I have the right to do something back to them. Correct?
Correct.
And what did Mr. Finch say to you?
He got out of his car, said he never said that, got into my face. I explained to him, would you please not allow Lexi to retaliate, that if she has a problem, she needs to go to Lori. I don't appreciate our baby being pulled down to the ground by his hair, and that conduct is not okay.
Mrs. Abarca, I have 11 grandchildren. I've seen them all playing around together.
Right.
If one of them, who's 5, gets annoyed at one of them who's 2 because they pull something out of their hand, they'll push them. That's not cause for World War III.
No, you're right.
That just
I agree.
happens.
I agree, but it was much more severe than that. And I have statements that I've written to Matt for suspensions, breaking down the situations. I believe I gave you copies of all of those.
Why did you give them to Matt instead of Stacy?
Because Matt was the one that came and picked up the children most of all the time.
Miss Abarca, this was your best friend's children.
Right.
Are you telling me that you didn't get on the phone in the evening after each of these instances and say to Stacy, listen, Stacy, we really have to talk about the girls.
Absolutely.
I'm having trouble with the girls.
Yes.
And what did Stacy tell you?
That she was in full agreement with everything I had. They knew Lexi was having aggression problems. She was getting in trouble at school almost, and they knew that it was something that they needed to work with.
So
and
that's what, just a second, so that's what your best friend told you?
Right.
So what did she do from the time you started to tell her about the problems with the girls and the time that he finally removed the children from your daycare? What had your friend Stacy done?
Lexi would get in trouble for various different instances. She would go home and be grounded, that kind of thing.
I'm asking you whether her mother ever took her to a therapy session, whether took her to a counselor.
She
tried
tried
to. Give me a yes or a no.
Matt refused to let her go to counseling.
Just a second. Just give me a yes or a no.
Well, it's kind of a gray area because she wanted to take him to counseling and Matt refused.
You should never have cared for these children. Never in a million years should you have been involved with these 2 children with the attitude that you have towards him. In any event, you called the state and reported what you considered his aggressive moves toward you.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
You had every right to do that.
Exactly.
He did it on April 4th, 3.5 days afterwards, and after he saw Stacy at court filing papers. That's when he went down.
Just a second. Are you asking me a question?
No, they're not.
Are you asking me a question?
They're open on Friday.
You too. You should never have cared for these children.
I agree. I've definitely
and never
learned
have
my
gotten
lesson.
him involved in taking your complaint outside to him,
complaint that just happened to have been made at the same exact time that you had just had a telephone altercation with him about payment. Sit down. I'm not aggrieved at all by Mr. Finch's conduct in reporting your husband's conduct to the state and letting them come out and take a look at what's going on in your house, because based upon what you told me, there is inadequate supervision of children.
They didn't.
I'm speaking in your home, based upon what you just told me. What really burns me is your motivation for calling Child Protective Services about this father. That's what really burns me, because it was clear to me from reading the timeline in this, your motivation. You chose not to report the problems with the child generally. You chose to identify Mr. Finch as the possible perpetrator of a problem.
That's not, I told them the entire situation.
You want to tell you something, Miss Albaka? I don't believe you. And the reason I don't believe you is Stacy still your best friend?
Stacy and I are still friends. Yes.
That's why I don't believe you, because you would not have called Child Protective Services on your best friend. There is a difference between him calling the state, and the worst thing that can happen to you is you could be investigated and they might not give you a license to care for children in your house. And you calling Child Protective Services and by innuendo suggesting something inappropriate's going on. It was very subtle. And I've seen and heard over the course of 35 years that subtle innuendo that suggests that a father is in some way inappropriately touching his children, which causes all kinds of red lights to go on with Child Protective Services. And your motivations were just that, judgment on the counterclaim for $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Computer technician Melvin Williams is suing former co-worker, 49-year-old computer technician Jackie Kelly, for an unpaid loan. Jackie claims Melvin sexually assaulted her and then got her fired. She is countersuing for $3,000.
Come to order. All rise. Quiet, please. Yeah, this is case number 456 on the calendar, the matter Williams versus Kelly. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
According to your complaint, Mr. Williams, you and the defendant were co-workers. She borrowed some money from you, and this was in October of 2000. Is that right?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And she signed a promissory note, and she did not pay you back. Easy?
That is also correct.
The defendant says that because of your actions, she was fired from her job. Because of things that you said about her, she was unable to get another job, and therefore she doesn't feel as if she has to pay you back the money, and she is counterclaiming for defamation. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct, Your Honor.
The dates become very interesting here. The loan was made what date in October, sir?
October 20th, 2000.
And what did you need the money for?
I needed the money to pay a mortgage payment.
And what was the principal amount on the loan?
$1,500.
Do you have the promissory note?
Yes, I do.
May I see it, please? And you did sign this promissory note. You
Yes,
signed
I
it
did.
on the 20th of October.
Yes.
Did you make the first payment on October the 30th, as it was agreed to in this note?
No, I did not.
Why not?
I was fired. I was sexually assaulted by Mr. Williams, who pressed his private parts on my behind.
When?
This was a month before I had gotten fired, and Mr. Williams believed
what date? No, just a second. I'm asking you the date. You indicate that you were, according to you, sexually harassed by Mr. Williams.
September 2000.
Well, that's why the dates become important. So that if you were sexually harassed by Mr. Williams in September of 2000, how could you borrow money from him a month later and promise to pay him, start to pay him within 10 days?
I loaned Mr. Williams $3,000 around March of 2000.
Yes?
I did not ask Mr. Williams to sign any promissory note. I just simply gave Mr. Williams the money. I had to hound him for 6 months to give me my money back. But when I needed money, Mr. Williams asked me to sign a promissory note. So, and I felt hurt. I felt hurt because originally I thought we were friends, but I found out differently. Anyway, what I was saying, I was in a very bad bind, and I needed money. And I borrowed it from Mr. Williams because I loaned him money, so I felt like he should give me money.
Well, when you signed this promissory note, Miss Kelly,
yes,
did you have intentions of paying him
yes,
back?
Yes, I had intentions. Oh, I'm sorry.
The answer was yes.
Yes.
So that what happened between October 20th, when you signed this note, and October the 30th?
As I said, Mr. Williams had wind of me gathering evidence against him for sexually harassing me and other harassments. Ever since he got
what happened between
he got me
in
fired.
That 10 days?
He lied.
On what
he lied
date,
to his superiors and got me fired.
On what date were you fired?
I was fired October the 30th.
Miss Kelly, the reason I asked questions about the dates was because it seems odd that you would borrow money from someone who you claim a month before had sexually abused you. Would seem to me you would want to stay as far away from that person as possible.
I could not. We worked in the same small cubicles, in the same location.
Then you certainly don't want to have anything other than a business relationship while you were, quote, gathering evidence against him.
To me, that was still business, Your Honor, because I really was in need of taking care of my personal business.
Then you have to pay him back. Period. End of discussion.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Why do you think that you are entitled not to pay him back?
I lost many of wages after I lost that job. Mr. Williams lied to his superiors and said I took someone else's check because he knew I was about to let his superiors know of his assault on me. I have documents that I went to Equal Opportunity and I made accusations, and I was given a claim. I was given a settlement from the organization that I worked with, showing that he sexually assaulted me. Mr. Williams was the supervisor after I left there.
I'm speaking. Don't interrupt me. It still doesn't forgive you from paying back a loan.
I didn't have a job. I had no job.
Well, it doesn't make any difference. You have to pay him back this money. And if you got a settlement, then you have to pay him back the money from the settlement. Period. End of discussion. You signed a note.
No, but excuse me.
I'm telling you yes.
Something?
I'm reading your complaint.
I have a letter from a lady that worked there.
Listen, I don't read letters. Miss Kelly, I want to see...
Equal Opportunity, stating his assault on me.
Did you hear what I said? I don't read letters. I want to see the result. This is the complaint that you just gave me, that you filed. I want to see the order that they handed down. Do you have a copy of the order that they handed?
No, I have a copy of the check that they settled with me for.
They settled with you for.
And that was a whole year later when my bills were...
Just a second. You mean you don't have a copy of the decision? There was never a decision?
I was released from unemployment.
Would you answer my questions?
Excuse me. I'm sorry.
You had to sign certain documents, Miss Kelly.
Yes, I did.
When you received this check. Let me see a copy of the documents you received.
I don't have a document with me, Your Honor.
All right. Now,
of that,
just 1 second.
I have a letter I presented to them during that time.
I'm not interested in your letter. I'm interested in their decision.
They had me sign a document releasing me from prosecuting any further.
That's correct. That's what they did.
Yes.
Of course. That's what I wanted to see. That's what I wanted to see.
I'm sorry, I didn't bring that letter with me, Your
Well,
Honor.
you should have, because you have a counterclaim against them for defamation. The first thing you say here is that you have a condition of torn cartilage, which may be considered a disability under the New York State human rights laws, and I am a female. Then you say on October 24th, which is 4 days after you borrowed this money, you submitted your request for sick leave related to your torn cartilage, right? Then you go on to say that the reason you were terminated was because of your disability and my sex having complained of sexual harassment. Why these people settle these claims? It's absolutely ridiculous. You also say here that by mistake I took somebody else's pay and you returned it. It was a mistake, you say, that you took it.
And it wasn't a pay, it was a stub.
A stub. Whatever it was. You signed a release, you don't get any money on your counterclaim, you have to pay them the money that you borrowed. You borrowed $1,500. There's also late fees imposed pursuant to this thing.
Wait a minute.
$25.
May I say something, Judge? I know I'm nervous, but may I state something, please?
You're not nervous, Miss Kelly.
Yes, I am, Judge.
No, you're not nervous.
There
You're
was
just trying to
a statement. I'm not lying, Judge. Mr. Williams is a supervisor at the company I was working at. I have been seeking employment. I have an impressive resume that I've gone for several interviews for over the last year, and they have to ask him for references, character references. I have not been able to get a job since I left that employ because they have to get references from Mr. Williams, who sabotaged me since then.
Miss Kelly, I can make a similar argument that the reason that you cannot get employment anywhere else is because you filed a claim based on the fact that you suffer from a disability, which I'm speaking, don't interrupt me. I'm really very smart. You say you were fired because you have torn cartilage, which you believe falls within the purview of the Americans' Disability Act, and therefore you were fired. I'm speaking. That's exactly what you say here.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Melvin Williams says former co-worker Jackie Kelly owes for an unpaid loan to pay her mortgage. Jackie claims Melvin sexually assaulted her and then got her fired. She says she's not going to pay.
It's exactly what you said here.
Judge,
you said.
Can I say something?
You say. I'm speaking. I believe the real reason for my termination of my. I'm speaking. I can't hear you. For terminating my employment is because of my disability and my sex, and having complained of sexual harassment. Those are your words.
I was the only woman at the job. My knee went out that month.
Listen to me, madam.
I was going on disability for that month.
Miss Kelly,
before that month, I was not injured, Your Honor.
Listen, I'm going to let you speak in a minute, sir.
I was not injured. There was nothing wrong with me.
Listen to me very carefully, madam. You're not listening to me. If I am an employer and I find out that someone has sued a prior company, in part because they say they suffer from a disability that they categorize as I am, which is what you say, have a condition, torn cartilage, which may be considered a disability under the New York State human rights law.
I have a letter here from the doctor. I went for surgery on the 17th of November of 2000. I did not have a disability until then. That's when I was requesting a disability. I did not have the disability yet. I was going for surgery for that, and that's when I went out. But after I was already fired before that even took place.
This
I
complaint
stated that
is in your file, Miss Kelly.
There's a letter stating that there was a lady that was a witness to the fact that Mr. Williams sexually harassed me.
Pay careful attention. I have zero sympathy for you because you borrowed money from him after
you say $3,000 before that.
After you say he sexually harassed you. I have zero sympathy for that. If you say he sexually harassed you and you were compiling evidence against him, we go forward against.
I was compiling evidence.
Hey. Who do you think you're joking with? You're joking with me. You're joking with me that you don't borrow money from him and sign a promissory note that you have no intention of paying back. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,525 pursuant to your complaint, sir. Do you understand?
Yes, I do, Your
You're
Honor.
getting back your money. Your counterclaim is dismissed. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's lied and defamed my character over the last year, and I really think it stinks.
The main reason she got fired because she opened up somebody's paycheck and she wanted to lie about it. And then she wanted me to cover for her.
And now the next case.
All parties on Evans versus Tracy. Step forward, please.
26-year-old handyman Tony Evans is suing his former friend, 31-year-old landscaper Audra Tracy, for the value of a stolen money order.
Mr. Evans, according to your complaint, the defendant was a friend of yours, and there had been times, because she didn't have a checking account, that you cashed checks for her.
Yes, ma'am.
On this particular instance, she came to you and told you she had a money order and asked you to cash it for her. You did.
Yes.
And several days later, you were notified by your bank that the money had been withdrawn from your account because the money order had either been stolen, reported stolen, or a stop order had been put on the money order. Is that right?
That's correct.
And you want the money back?
Yes, I do.
Tell me the circumstances surrounding her request.
She called me up on my cell phone and said that the father of her children had come into town out of the blue. He hadn't been paying child support ever, and he gave her a money order for $1,000 and wanted to know if I had cash. I've cashed plenty of checks for her, and I didn't think nothing of it. And when I showed up, she said, well, it's for $1,000, but it's money order. It's guaranteed funds. You got nothing to worry about. Because up till then, I didn't cash nothing for that amount of money. So I thought about it and said, hey, you know, it's money order, guaranteed funds. It's not like it's a checking account. So I cashed the money order for her.
How did you do that?
We went to the bank. She signed the money order that was written to her. She endorsed it. I signed it and cashed it and handed her the money. And in the bank was the last time I ever saw my $1,000.
Did she ever tell you about this father of her children before you cashed the money order?
I don't know anything about him.
Just that you knew she had children?
She had children, so obviously they probably have a father, yes.
Okay. All right, Miss Tracy, let me hear from you.
Pretty much everything that he said, it happened. To me, the money order was a legit check. That's the only reason why I asked Tony to do it, because like he said, he has cashed checks for me prior, because I don't have a bank account. When we cashed his check, I went back and gave the money to Dolan. After that, Tony got a hold of us a couple of days after that saying the bank, you know, he was out of $1,000, we need to get down to it. So we addressed Dolan, both me and him both did at that time, and Dolan got on the phone and was trying to call somebody in Missouri, a friend of his, that supposedly put the stop payment on it. To me, I was an innocent bystander, and I understand Tony wants to get his money back, and I try to get him and Dolan to deal with it themselves and keep me out of it, because it's basically, he wrote the check out to me, and I don't feel like I'm totally blamed for the $1,000.
Even though she got the $1,000?
Even though I got the $1,000, which I gave to Dolan, and in return he gave me $300 for child support. And I haven't received child support from him in like 12 years.
So you feel as if Dolan is responsible?
Yes,
for
I
the money.
definitely do.
That's your defense?
Yeah.
That you're an innocent bystander?
Yes.
All right. I have some questions for you, Ms.
Okay.
Tracy. Were you ever married to Dolan?
No, I was not.
But you were in, I assume, a long-term relationship with him?
On and off for 5 years.
And after he cashed this money order, did Dolan stay with you for a while?
Yes, he did stay with me for
How
about
long?
a week. And
Just
then,
a week?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, tell me what you know about Dolan. Does Dolan work?
He's always worked. When I was with him,
Has he ever been incarcerated?
Yes, he has.
How many times?
He's incarcerated right now, and I do believe this is his second time being incarcerated.
What do you mean you do believe? While you were together for that 5 years, had he been in jail before?
No, he was not together in those 5 years, and that's like 12 years ago, so.
Okay, but you believe that he's been incarcerated on at least 2 occasions?
Yes.
Do you know what for?
Drug charges.
Using, selling, or a little bit of both?
A little bit of both. Selling.
Little?
Manufacturing.
Okay. So a little bit of, he's a
everything.
bit of an
He's
entrepreneur, he's a
pretty
businessman, he's a salesman, and he also uses his own product.
Yeah.
Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, there you go. That'll work.
Was he ever abusive towards you?
Yes, he was.
Was he ever physically abusive
Yes,
towards you? Prior to him cashing this check for you, not a long time ago, just recently, did you know about Dolan's drug involvement?
No, I didn't. I didn't hear or see from him for about 8 years, so showing up on my doorstep, it bewildered me because I haven't seen him in so long.
Oh,
so.
But you did know one thing. You knew that he had been working.
Yes.
And that he hadn't paid child support. Is that right?
Yes.
So you knew he was a deadbeat.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And had he seen his children in those years?
Nope.
So you knew he was irresponsible?
Very much.
So, Miss Tracy, let me ask you this question. If you went to Mr. Evans, who was a friend of yours, and said, look, I have this money order. It was given to me by the father of my children, who is a lowlife, irresponsible, deadbeat, abuser, and we'd like you to cash it for us. Do you think he would have cashed it for you? Probably not. So you had information about the person who you were asking him to vouch for by giving him money that he didn't have. Mr. Evans, if she had said to you, here is a money order by this lowlife, drug-abusing, drug-selling, drug-manufacturing, irresponsible, deadbeat person who I once knew 8 years ago, but I haven't seen since, would you have cashed her money order?
No, I wouldn't.
Of course not. So you go after Dolan.
That was my point.
Absolutely. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Tăng nhãn áp bẩm sinh ở trẻ là như thế nào? Thì tăng nhãn áp là một thể bệnh glucom bẩm sinh xảy ra ở trẻ em. Theo nghiên cứu thì bệnh này không xuất hiện thường xuyên ở trẻ nhỏ. Nếu xuất hiện thì bé trai sẽ có nguy cơ mắc bệnh lớn hơn là bé gái, chiếm tỷ lệ 4/1, tức là cứ 4 bé trai thì có 1 bé gái bị. Tuy nhiên, chiếm 1/10.000 trẻ bị tăng nhãn áp. Nhưng khi đã mắc phải bệnh này thì các mẹ nên cẩn trọng vì glucom được đánh giá là một trong những nguyên nhân chính dẫn đến mù mắt. Tỷ lệ mắc bệnh thấp nhưng khi con mắc phải có thể do các nguyên nhân sau đây. Nguyên nhân đầu tiên là mắc bệnh tiểu đường, thường sử dụng thuốc corticoid, gặp chấn thương về mắt, gen di truyền hay là bị tắc nghẽn ống dẫn lưu trong màng mạch. Một số dấu hiệu về tăng nhãn áp bố mẹ cần biết để điều trị cho con. Thứ nhất là chảy nước mắt, thứ hai là mắt nhạy cảm với ánh sáng, thứ ba là mí mắt co giật liên tục, thứ tư là tăng kích thước giác mạc, thứ năm là cũng mạc chuyển sang màu xanh. Thì nhiều phụ huynh sẽ rất là dễ nhầm lẫn và thắc mắc tăng nhãn áp có phải là cận thị hay là không. Thì trên thực tế đây là hai bệnh lý khác hẳn hoàn toàn nhau. Tăng nhãn áp thì là một trong những nguyên nhân chính khiến cho trẻ bị mù nên bố mẹ cần phải lưu ý. Đưa con đi khám thường xuyên để bảo vệ đôi mắt của con. Nó là một căn bệnh nguy hiểm và nó là nguyên nhân dẫn đến mù lòa của trẻ. Cho nên là bố mẹ cần phải theo sát cái sức khỏe của con, và đặc biệt là đối với cái căn bệnh tăng nhãn áp như thế này. Vì nếu như sơ suất một cái